Chapter 1421 Holy Soul Beasts have holy gifts. Holy Soul Realm. One by one Xeon domain ancestors shuttled in, but because of the random transmission, the location of each person's transmission is different. Yi Tian appeared in a forest in the Holy Soul Realm, surrounded by only one of his supreme ancestors, and he did not sense the existence of other supreme ancestors. Obviously, he is far away from other Xeon ancestors. Boom! A powerful breath flew from a distance. Top domain ancestor level creatures. Yi Tian sensed it. Copy talent, explore, race, Holy Soul Wolf. Bloodline talent, to advanced. Source talent, super god level extreme. Source talent, super god level extreme. Source speed talent, super god level extreme. Holy endowment, Julie. Judging from the situation of duplicating talent exploration, this Holy Soul Wolf clan has holy talent. What happened? Yi Tian was stunned. Why does this Holy Soul Wolf clan have holy gifts? Could it be that it is the descendant of the Supreme Domain Ancestor? No, the Holy Soul Realm has been opened more than once, and there is no Supreme Domain Ancestor here, otherwise how would the ancestors dare to put our younger generations here? Yi Tian thought to himself. Therefore, the weakest Holy Soul beasts here are only the powerful Invincible Domain Ancestors, and they will not have the existence of the Supreme Domain Ancestors. Therefore, how could the Holy Soul Talent Holy Soul Beast be born here? Strange, so strange, Yi Tian muttered. Of course, there are too many mysterious things in the Dark Forbidden Realm. As the first ancestral realm of the Dark Sanctuary, the primitive ancestral realm has some special circumstances, which is quite normal. Copy the sacred gift of giant power. Yi Tian copied successfully. Immediately, with a wave of his hand, the golden thread holy skill tore the body of the Holy Soul Wolf clan, instantly killing it. A Holy Soul Wolf clan with holy talent has fallen. If it is outside, such a holy person will fall, I am afraid it will cause a shocking sensation. But here, it did not cause any waves. When this Holy Soul Beast died, a ray of Holy Soul power poured into Yi Tian's body and was absorbed by his soul. Immediately, Yi Tian began to refine the power of the Holy Soul and strengthen the holy light of his own soul. A few months later, Yi Tian completely refined the power of the Holy Soul, and the holy light of the soul also grew a little. Sure enough, if I kill enough Holy Soul beasts, my soul holy light will progress very fast. In this Holy Soul world, I may really be able to condense Holy Souls completely. Yi Tian muttered. Wow! Yi Tian shuttled in the air, and soon found a Holy Soul Beast. This Holy Soul Beast is stronger, has the realm of the Supreme Ancestor, and it also has holy gifts. Holy Endowment. Meteor. This is a speed class Holy Endowment. Copy the Meteor gift. Yi Tian succeeded in copying, and also beheaded this Holy Soul Beast. Afterwards, he absorbed the power of the Holy Soul after the death of the Holy Soul Beast and strengthened the holy light of the soul. It has to be said that this Holy Soul Beast in the realm of the strongest ancestors contains more Holy Soul power, and the effect is better. But at this time, Yi Tian was still very puzzled. Why did the two Holy Soul Beasts he met possess holy gifts? Could it be that the Holy Soul Beast is a family of holy gifts? Yi Tian thought to himself. If this is the case, then he can completely copy countless holy gifts, and holy gifts can be merged. Before he did not integrate holy gifts, it was because there were too few holy gifts copied, and the fusion was useless. But if there are countless holy gifts, once they are merged, will the talents above the holy gifts be born? Although the supreme level domain ancestors of the War Gate have said that the sacred gift is the limit, but the supreme level domain ancestors may not know everything, they may just have not seen the talent above the sacred gift, maybe there is any ancestral gift. Ha 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 ha, this place is really my blessed land. Even if I didn't form a talent beyond the holy endowment this time, but with so many holy endowments, it's easier for me to cultivate holy skills. Yi Tian muttered. Afterwards, Yi Tian hunted the Holy Soul Beasts to absorb the power of the Holy Soul and strengthened his soul holy light, while copying the holy gift. As he guessed, the Holy Soul Beasts here all possess holy gifts. The only pity is that these Holy Soul Beasts do not know holy skills and can only use holy gifts to display their strength, which is a complete waste of holy gifts. Of course, above the same rank, the strength of the Holy Soul Beast is still hanging on the ordinary cultivator. Only a true genius can compete with the Holy Soul Beast of the same rank. For example, the Supreme Strong Domain Ancestor Saint Soul Beast encountered by Yi Tian before, but in terms of strength, I am afraid that there is a second-level Supreme Strong Domain Ancestor combat power. If the strength is weak, the Supreme Strong Domain Ancestor will really be killed by the Holy Spirit Beast. Unfortunately, in Yi Tian's eyes, these holy soul beasts were like ants, and they were easily killed by him. As time passed, Yi Tian's soul holy light became stronger and more martial arts were copied. Decades later this day, Yi Tian saw a huge black tree towering into the clouds. There are 3 fruits growing on this black giant tree. Yi Tian can see at a glance that these 3 fruits are very extraordinary, not ordinary fruits. Could this be? Yi Tian thought of the name of a treasure. Black scale holy fruit. According to rumors, one black scale holy fruit can create an invincible domain ancestor, but there are 3 black scale holy fruit here, enough to create 3 invincible domain ancestors. Moreover, for the birth of the soul holy light for the Xian domain ancestor, it can also enhance the soul light. Yi Tian muttered. In terms of value, the value of a black scale holy fruit is no less than that of the soul holy world flower. Before, Yi Tian swallowed the soul sacred realm flower, which was originally a treasure for his wife, but now he saw this black-scaled sacred fruit, which was just given to his wife, so that she could enter the invincible realm ancestor realm in the future. This black-scale holy fruit belongs to me. Yi Tian flew over. At this moment, he sensed the existence of a stone python. By duplicating his talent, he discovered that this stone python was also one of the holy soul beasts, and also had a holy gift called Shi Huang Lao Hao transformation. In addition, its realm is not the strongest domain ancestor, but the invincible domain ancestor. And not far from the stone python, 3 human-shaped stone statues stood there. 3 Xian ancestors were petrified. Yi Tian was a little surprised. The strongest ancestors who can enter here are naturally not weak. The worst one is afraid that they all have the strength of the first-grade supreme ancestors. I did not expect that such a strong ancestor would be killed. From this, it can be seen that the strength of this stone python is very terrifying, and it is afraid that it has more than 9 steps of invincible domain ancestors. Shi Meng didn't shoot Yi Tian, maybe he wouldn't shoot if he didn't get close to its territory. Someone is coming. Yi Tian felt it. Whoa. 2 supreme ancestors appeared, very unfamiliar. Yi Tian had never seen the garden. But through duplicating talent exploration, he knew the existence of these 2 supreme domain ancestors. The strongest domain ancestor of the Dark Holy Sect. Chapter 1422 Kill the Stone Python. Before coming to the Holy Soul Realm, Yi Tian also got to know about the great domain ancestors on the great sect of the Dark Sanctuary. He knows it all. The 2 perceived ancestors are not the most powerful ancestors on the Dark Saint Gate Xian list, so their strength should not be strong. Black Scale Holy Fruit. The 2 supreme ancestors of the Dark Saint sect also saw the Black Scale Saint fruit, and immediately showed greed. This thing is of high value, and they are naturally more eager. It is wasteful to refine it, and it can be traded to those supreme ancestors who are difficult to hit, the invincible ancestors, and they can definitely sell for a high price. These 2 supreme domain ancestors also discovered Yi Tian, and some were uncertain about Yi Tian's strength. Although they are very confident in their own strength, none of the strongest domain ancestors who entered the Holy Soul Realm this time are weak. Even the strongest domain ancestors in some holy places are very powerful, and they are not necessarily weaker than those on the top list. The ancestors of the domain were even stronger than them. Therefore, be careful. Your Excellency, how about 3 black-scaled holy fruits, 1 per person? The 2 supreme ancestors asked. Deal with this stone python first. Yi Tian suggested. 623 Good. The 2 supreme ancestors of the Dark Saint Gate also sensed the stone python, and at the same time discovered the 3 petrified supreme ancestors. However, they estimate that the 3 supreme domain ancestors should be relatively weak supreme domain ancestors, and as the supreme domain ancestors of the Dark Holy Sect, their strength is very close to the combat power of the strongest domain ancestors, so they are not afraid of stone python. Boom! The 3 Yi Tian shot together and attacked the stone python. At this moment, the stone python shot. Wow! A white light flashed across, and the attack of the 3 was directly petrified. At the same time, the stone python burst out with a terrifying aura, smashing the void with 1 blow. No, the strength of this stone python is comparable to that of the 7-step invincible domain ancestor. The 2 supreme ancestors of the Dark Holy Sect were stunned. The 7-step invincible domain ancestors are not weak, although they are the strongest domain ancestors who can leapfrog to kill the weaker invincible domain ancestors, but they cannot compete with the 7-step invincible domain ancestors. Before, they thought that the holy soul beasts in this world were incapable of holy skills, and their combat power was not as good as a genius. But they knew, CJFI, that their estimates were wrong, and the strength of this stone python was terrifying. Retreat. The two supreme ancestors of the Dark Holy Sect immediately cut off the road. However, just when they wanted to retreat, Yi Tian cast the 5 elements ban to block the void. Suddenly, the two of them couldn't run. What do you mean? Why are you blocking us? If you don't escape, you will die. The two supreme ancestors of the Dark Holy Sect said angrily. No, it's you who died, not me. Yi Tian said with a smile. It would be fine if they were the supreme ancestors of other forces, but they were the supreme ancestors of the Dark Saint Sect, and the relationship between the War Sect and the Dark Sacred Sect was very bad. The strongest ancestor of the domain, kill it all if it can be killed. Therefore, he will not let go of the two supreme ancestors of the Dark Holy Sect. Do not. The two supreme ancestors of the Dark Sect attacked Yi Tian frantically, but before they made a few shots, the stone python's petrified holy gift covered these two supreme ancestors. For the first time, they resisted the petrified holy gift, but they also used up the life-saving thing. The second time, they failed to resist and were directly petrified, and their vitality gradually annihilated and died. Outside the original ancestral realm, in the darkness, a figure was entrenched here. He is the ancestor of the Dark Holy Sect, the Dark Ancestor. Of course, it is only a clone, not the main body. The Dark Ancestor opened his eyes, and he sensed that the two Supreme Power Domain Ancestor Soul cards of the Dark Saint Gate were shattered, and he could not help muttering, the two Supreme Strong Domain Ancestors died, and they fell not long after entering, really waste. He didn't care too much, the two dead ancestors were not the most powerful ancestors on the Xeon list, and he wouldn't feel distressed no matter how much they fell. Yi Tian didn't need to use the power of the stone python to kill these two supreme domain ancestors, he could easily kill them, but in order to understand the strength of the stone python, he did so. The combat power of the 7-step invincible domain ancestor is not bad. Yi Tian smiled, not panic at all. A long time ago, he fought against the two 5-step invincible ancestors of the Qingyuan Holy Land that day and killed them all. Although he had used the power of the Xuanshu Holy Realm at that time, his real strength had definitely reached the combat power of the 7/8 step invincible domain ancestor. Now, the holy light of his soul has risen a lot, and his combat power has definitely entered the combat power of the 6-step invincible domain ancestor. It is not difficult to kill the 7-step invincible ancestor with the 6-step invincible ancestor. Boom! Yi Tian made a move, constantly bombarding the huge body of the stone python with the holy technique of virtual slashing. Kaka kaka, the scales on the stone python continued to shatter under the attack of the virtual slashing technique, and countless blood spurted out. I saw that the wounds of the stone python continued to heal, and the recovery speed was very fast. This is not because it has a special recovery method, but is the instinctive recovery ability of the invincible domain ancestor. The invincible domain ancestor's recovery ability is very fast. Unless the strength gap is really too large, it will take a long time to kill an invincible domain ancestor. Kill. Countless golden threads surround the stone python. This is Yi Tian's golden thread holy skill. Although its power is not as powerful as the virtual slash, it can attack continuously, and the effect will be better. Under the attack of Yi Tian's holy skills, stone python couldn't resist at all, its petrification ability couldn't petrify Yi Tian, and it was directly blocked by Yi Tian's several extreme defense holy skills. Even if there was a trace of petrification, the power invaded into Yi Tian's body, and it would also be recovered by the unextinguishable holy technique. Therefore, its means are useless to Yi Tian. A few months later, the stone python was ground to death by Yi Tian. Unfortunately, the strength of this stone python is very close to that of the 6-step invincible domain ancestor. If it can use a petrification holy technique, its power will even exceed the 6-step invincible domain ancestor. I really want to practice a petrification holy technique. At a very high level, the combat power is afraid that it will instantly reach the level of the invincible ancestors of the 4 or 5 steps. Yi Tian commented, however, if nothing happens, the holy soul beasts in this world cannot leave, and it is also thanks to the rules of this world that they can give birth to holy gifts. Therefore, there are pros and cons. But for Yi Tian, this world is the real place of great opportunity. Strive to copy the martial arts as soon as possible, and see if there is a qualitative change after fusion. Yi Tian left here after picking up the 3 Heilun sacred fruits. Chapter 1423 Ancestral Fu, Ancestral Skills. In the days that followed, Yi Tian looked for various resources and treasures, copied the holy gift, and killed the holy soul beast to absorb the power of the holy soul to strengthen his own soul holy light. It has to be said that Yi Tian's strength is very strong, so he has naturally gained a lot. In addition, there are too many holy soul beasts in the holy soul world, and there are naturally many holy gifts, which is completely beyond his imagination. In the blink of an eye, thousands of years have passed. At this time, Yi Tian didn't know how many holy gifts he had copied. The copy talent panel showed densely packed holy gifts, and they were all integrated one by one. On this day, Yi Tian was going to integrate a kind of holy gift to see if it could cause the transformation of the holy gift. Let's fuse the holy gift of power, Yi Tian decided. Because power-type holy gifts are relatively common, many of the holy soul beasts are power-type holy gifts. It took a long time to integrate the holy gift. In order not to waste time, Yi Tian took out a holy item with time rules, and fully motivated this holy item. With the blessing of countless energy treasures, Yi Tian opened 1,000,000:1 ratio, time acceleration. Of course, under this circumstance, it would be difficult for him to cultivate, but he would not cultivate, just to speed up the fusion of holy gifts. The fusion of 2 holy gifts. 3 holy gifts fusion. 4 holy endowments fusion. 10 kinds. Hundreds. Thousands. How can the general saints have so many saints? Even if the ancestors had a great chance, they couldn't give birth to so many saints. Besides, the ancestors did not look down on the saints, and naturally they would not bother to study how to birth of the holy endowment. Only Yi Tian, a monster with a talent for copying, has such a holy gift, and he can also fuse the holy gift together. Unknowingly, Yi Tian has merged 1,000,000,000 years in the time acceleration environment, and the outside world has also passed 100 years. At this time, Yi Tian had integrated more than 100,000 kinds of power-type holy gifts, but still did not make a qualitative change in the holy gifts. But he felt that the new unknown power-type holy gift had reached a very powerful level, far exceeding the ordinary holy gift, and was about to undergo a qualitative change. Keep merging. After merging more than a dozen kinds of power-related holy gifts, the unknown power-related holy gifts finally completed a qualitative change. Boom! In the depths of his soul, Yi Tian's unknown holy endowment formed by the fusion of more than 100,000 power-like holy endowments is transforming, and the imprint of talent is constantly expanding, gradually turning into a word power. The imprint of talent is in the form of words, and no one will believe it, but it happened. At the same time, Yi Tian sensed the situation of this holy gift of power. Ancestral Fu, strength. There really is an ancestral gift, perhaps this is the only ancestral gift in the Dark Sanctuary. Yi Tian imagined. Of course, this is not certain, the ancestors may have more secrets, and maybe they can also study the ancestors. It has to be said that after possessing the ancestral Fu, Yi Tian discovered that the power of the ancestral Fu alone is comparable to the sacred skills of the extreme realm. If I continue to practice a power-based holy skill, is it possible to break the shackles and become an ancestral skill? Yi Tian guessed. If he can really do it, his strength will reach a terrifying level. Next, Yi Tian continued to integrate other holy gifts. He copied a lot of each type of holy talent, such as some holy soul beast groups, although he did not dare to provoke, but he could copy a lot of holy talent at one time, so he did not lack holy talent at all. Soon, a family of ancestors was born. Ancestral Fu, speed. Ancestral Fu, defense. Open black lens bracket Ancestral Fu, gold close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket Ancestral Fu, fire close black lens bracket. Yi Tian has a lot of ancestors, but the only pity is that there is no way to form space ancestors and time ancestors, because there are relatively few holy soul beasts with space and time. There are dozens of time holy spirit beasts and more than 100 space holy spirit beasts. Such a little holy gift can't cause a qualitative change at all. Therefore, if he wants to give birth to the ancestors of space and time, he can only accumulate slowly. With so many ancestral gifts born, Yi Tian recultivated those holy skills, among which he specialized in 2 holy skills. One was the holy armor holy technique, and the other was the golden thread holy technique. The cultivation of these 2 sacred skills is not difficult, so it is easier to break the shackles and become the ancestor skills. Hundreds of thousands of years have passed. Yi Tian's soul holy light has reached 50%, which means that half of the soul has become the soul holy light, so Yi Tian's strength has increased a lot again, reaching 6 steps. The peak state of the invincible domain ancestor is very close to the 5-step invincible domain ancestor. Ask for flowers. If he can condense the holy soul, he can definitely reach the battle strength of the 5-step invincible domain ancestor. Or, if he cultivated a holy skill to the level of ancestral skill, even if it is just an entry-level ancestral skill, he can definitely possess the 5-step invincible domain ancestral combat power. This day, Yi Tian took an invincible domain ancestor level holy soul beast to practice his golden thread holy skills. He did not kill this holy soul beast with only 8-step invincible domain ancestors but only learned from it. Puff puff. One after another golden thread cut this holy soul beast, and this holy soul beast also kept attacking Yi Tian. One person and one beast came and went. At the same time, F started learning and Fu, feeling the power of ancestral Fu and holy skills. I don't know when, Yi Tian seemed to have fallen into an epiphany, and his consciousness extended to the root of the holy skill. At this time, he saw a long golden river. Gold, edge, ancestral, origin, unity. Suddenly, Yi Tian seemed to have realized the root of Jin, and finally realized the mystery of Jin's ancestors. It has to be said that the ancestor of Jin Fu is not only a talent, but more of a kind of guidance, guiding Yi Tian to comprehend a deeper realm, second only to the effect of the ancestor of Jin. But in terms of comprehending holy skills and ancestral skills, the ancestral gift of gold can go far beyond the so-called ancestral method. Boom! The golden thread holy skill has transformed, and it is no longer a holy skill. Today's golden thread holy skills can be called golden thread ancestor skills. Golden silk ancestral skill, kill. A ray of golden light swept across the void in an instant, slicing the invincible domain ancestral holy soul beast in two in an instant. As expected of the golden thread ancestral skill, the attack power is terrifying. Yi Tian is very satisfied. After comprehending the golden thread ancestral skill, Yi Tian's strength has soared, reaching the combat power of the 5-step invincible domain ancestor. As long as he continues to practice the golden thread ancestral skill, he will cultivate the golden thread ancestral skill to a small level, or gain more for some ancestral skills. His strength is afraid to reach the extreme of the 5-step invincible domain ancestor, second only to the combat power of the 4-step invincible domain ancestor. At that time, he is afraid that he will be able to sweep the holy soul realm. Chapter 1424 Star Soul Sand. Next, while practicing the golden thread ancestral skill, I will strive to break the shackles of the holy armor and become the ancestral skill of the ancestral armor. Yi Tian arranged the next cultivation plan. With the defense ancestral gift, Yi Tian is not worried that he can't upgrade the holy armor to the ancestral skill. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of thousands of years have passed. Over the years, Yi Tian not only kept copying holy gifts, beheading holy spirit beasts to strengthen the soul holy light, but also used holy armor holy skills to fight against many holy spirit beasts to hone holy armor holy techniques. I don't know how many times, Yi Tian's holy armor was smashed by the holy soul beast, but between the shattering and repairing, Yi Tian's understanding of the holy armor became deeper and deeper, and because of the defense ancestry, Yi Tian became Tian has no bottleneck in the holy skill. As long as the wedge machine arrives, he can upgrade the holy skill to the ancestral skill. This is his advantage. This day, when Yi Tian was fighting with a group of holy soul beasts, Lu Sanqi, he finally completed the transformation of holy armor and holy skills. A set of black gold battle armor has banned Yi Tian's previous holy armor. This is a fundamental qualitative change in the holy skill. It is no longer a holy skill, but an ancestral skill. Ancestral skill, ancestral armor. The power of ancestral armor's ancestral skill is very terrifying, and its defense is many times stronger than that of sacred armor. Yi Tian stood there. Even if a large number of sacred soul beasts attacked him, he could not break his defense. Such a defense is simply described as terrifying. The attack has the golden thread ancestral skill, and the defense has the ancestral armor ancestral skill. Yi Tian's strength can be described as a surge. If you have another speed class ancestor skill, it will be more comprehensive. Next, let's fully improve the streamer holy skills. Yi Tian muttered. Originally, Yi Tian wanted to practice with peace of mind. Anyway, he could stay in the holy soul realm for a long time, and there was time to improve the holy light of soul and cultivate holy skills. However, this day, a subpoena came. The message of the ancestor of the herring. Yi Tian was surprised. From the interrogation, the Zanman's Shanqiang ancestors and the Shanqiang ancestors of other forces discovered a treasure, which is a real place of great opportunity. They are currently in a battle and will fight at any time. He used to support. Afterwards, other Zanman Shanqiang ancestors also sent messages to Yi Tian, requesting his support. A real place of great opportunity. Yi Tian was a little curious about this place, but Zanman's supreme power domain ancestor didn't say what the chance was, and he didn't ask, but rushed over at the fastest speed. Holy Soul Realm, in a void like a starry sky, here is the interior of the treasure land, and a group of supreme ancestors appeared here. Unexpected. A black ball the size of a star appeared, which immediately caused the killing of the ancestors of the strongest domain. This grain of star soul sand is mine. A Xeon domain ancestor on the Xeon list roared. However, the Shanqiang ancestors on the Xeon list are nothing here. I saw a 10-meter-tall giant pinching the Xingqiang ancestors to death with one hand. This giant is not a cultivator, but a taboo creature that appears in human form. He is the most powerful domain ancestor ranked 6th in the Forbidden Holy Sect Xeon list, Wu Shu. Wu Shu's strength stunned the other supreme ancestors. He instantly snatched the star soul sand, and then collected it into the soul realm, so that it would be difficult for others to snatch it. It's not that there are no supreme ancestors who are comparable to Wu Shu, but this treasure land is too empty, and the location of the star soul sand is unpredictable, so Wu Shu grabbed it. Pity. One by one the extremely powerful ancestors of the strong domain regretted. Wu Shu, you dare to kill our immortal saint sect Xeon list Shanqiang ancestor. A supreme ancestor who had just arrived said angrily. He is the 7th most powerful domain ancestor of the immortal saint gate Xingqiu ranking, the golden snake domain ancestor. Golden snake territory ancestor, are you unconvinced? Then let's fight. Wu Shu sneered. Humph. The ancestor of the golden snake territory snorted coldly, but did not make a move. In the case of no benefit, it is absolutely unnecessary for him to fight with Wu Shu's ancestor. If he is injured, it will prevent him from snatching treasures. Coward, Wu Shu said. At this moment, Yi Tian also came. Wanfa Yuzu, you are here. One of the most powerful ancestors of Zonman greeted Yi Tian when they saw Yi Tian. Among them, Herring Yuzu was also there, but he was not lightly injured, and he is now recovering. After all, the strength of Herring ancestors is not too strong. Even though the strength has improved a lot in these years, there is still no way to compare to the top Xeon ancestors on the Xeon list, so he was injured. What treasure is this place? Yi Tian asked. He had just arrived and did not understand the situation, so he was very curious about the situation here. This treasure is very special, and it can give birth to star soul sand. The 13th most powerful ancestor of the Battle Gate, the ancestor of Zaiheu, introduced. Star soul sand. Yi Tian has naturally heard of this treasure. It is named after sand, but in fact, its size is comparable to a small star, but in the dark sanctuary, it is actually a grain of sand, but it is a holy light that can strengthen the soul's treasure. The value of a star soul sand is even more precious than the flower of the soul holy world, so a superstar ancestor has cultivated for a long time. After all, it is very large and difficult to consume. No wonder it has attracted so many supreme ancestors. If I get enough star soul sand, I can definitely condense holy souls. Yi Tian secretly said, Ancestor of 10,000 laws, once the holy soul sand is discovered, we will work together to snatch it. A star soul sand is born here almost every day, but it only appears for 10 minutes, so it must be grabbed within 10 minutes, otherwise it will disappear. The ancestor of the West River region suggested. Yi Tian nodded. In fact, he wanted to act alone, but this time it was the ancestors of Zaiheu and Qingyu who reminded him that they were here, so it was not easy to refuse to cooperate. If he helped them snatch enough star soul sand, he would increase it by 5.8 to act alone, so it wouldn't be too much. Soon, the next day will come. At this time, in a place far away from Yi Tian and the others, a star soul sand appeared. Wu Shu wanted to snatch this grain of star soul sand, but unfortunately the distance was a bit far, while the golden snake domain ancestor of the immortal saint gate was closer to this grain of star soul sand. Ha ha ha, I'm the closest, no one can grab me. The ancestor of the golden snake region said excitedly. However, a figure appeared, it was Yi Tian. Yi Tian used the space holy technique to escape, and the space holy technique of the extreme realm made Yi Tian's speed so fast that he arrived here in an instant. At the same time, Yi Tian directly blocked the space between himself and the area of star soul sand with the 5 elements ban, isolating the golden snake domain ancestor. Wow, Xinghunsha was collected by Yi Tian. Chapter 1425 Yi Tian kills the ancestor of the golden snake domain. Ancestor of all laws. The ancestor of the golden snake region said angrily. At this moment, he wanted to kill Wanfa Yuzu. It is rumored that the ancestors of Wanvayu are very powerful and can perfectly use the power of a holy world to be invincible in their own mysterious holy world. He admitted that if he was in the Xuanshu holy realm, he would never dare to attack the ancestors of Wanvayu. However, this is not the Xuanshu holy realm. In addition, he is much stronger than in the past, and now he has condensed a holy soul, and he is also one of the saints, and he has practiced 2 holy skills, both of which have reached the limit. Although everyone's foundation is different, their strength is naturally different. However, he did not believe that he was not Yi Tian's opponent. Dai, the ancestor of the Golden Snake domain, shot Yi Tian. He is going to kill Yi Tian. What if Yi Tian is a saint, who is not a saint? Under normal circumstances, a Saint Fu only has one or at most two Saint Fu. Yi Tian has more Saint Fu, so many forces speculate that Yi Tian is not the descendant of the Supreme Domain ancestor, but the descendant of the first ancestor. But this kind of speculation can't stand scrutiny. After all, there are so many ancestors in the Dark Forbidden area. The ancestors know each other. The possibility of a 29 ancestor suddenly appearing is too low. Therefore, Yi Tian is at most the descendant of a Supreme Domain ancestor. Killing Yi Tian, the immortal holy gate behind him and his parents can keep him. Therefore, others are afraid to kill Yi Tian, but he is not afraid. Golden Thorn. 1. A top-level holy soldier long sword appeared in the hands of the ancestor of the Golden Snake domain, carrying the power of the Golden Thorn of the holy technique, and pierced through it instantly. This sword is extremely fast, and its power is terrifying. Even the 20 or so strong ancestors of the strong list were seriously injured even if they were attacked by him. After all, the 20th place on the Xeon list, and every gap between them is very strong. In their eyes, the Xeon ancestors after the 20th place are even more ants. Roll. Yi Tian used the holy armor holy skill, but did not use the ancestral armor. He was just a Gold Snake domain ancestor, and he did not need to let him use the ancestral skill. When the Golden Thorns bombarded the sacred armor, but did not break Yi Tian's defense at all. Then, Yi Tian struck a virtual slash, bombarding the Golden Snake territory ancestor, directly piercing the Golden Snake territory ancestor. Wow, the Golden Snake domain ancestor moved away and looked at his body with a gloomy expression. He was injured, and not lightly. Wanfa Yuzu is so powerful. This was beyond his expectations. He thought that most of Yi Tian's strength came from the Xuanshu Holy Realm, but he didn't expect his own combat power to be so terrifying. Why is this? He is also a saint. Even though he has more saintly skills, he has not yet condensed his holy soul. I should be stronger than him. 1. The ancestors of the Golden Snake domain did not understand. But he didn't dare to shoot Yi Tian, in other words, he was cowardly. However, he shot Yi Tian, but Yi Tian would not let him go. Unexpected, Yi Tian appeared next to the ancestor of the Golden Snake domain, and the time holy skill was cast from the eternal holy skill. Time in this area is frozen. The Golden Snake domain ancestor was also affected, although he quickly got rid of the time influence, but Yi Tian's next round of attack began, and he couldn't dodge. Virtual cut. The almost full-strength virtual slashing holy technique bombarded the Golden Snake domain ancestor, which was even more terrifying than the illusory slashing holy technique in a hurry just now. This time Yi Tian almost mobilized all the power of the holy light of the soul, and blessed it on top of the holy technique virtual slashing. The power of this blow definitely reached the attack level of the 6-step invincible domain ancestor. The Golden Snake domain ancestor is not a 6-step invincible domain ancestor's combat power, at most it can barely reach the 8-step ultimate invincible domain ancestor's combat power, and even less than the 7-step invincible domain ancestor's combat power. And only the strongest domain ancestors like Wushu have the 7-step invincible domain ancestor combat power. Hence the power of this blow. The ancestors of the Golden Snake territory couldn't bear it, and even if there was a defensive sacred object, it couldn't offset too much attack power. Boom! The small half of the body of the ancestor of the Golden Snake region was annihilated, and this time he was completely injured. Come and help me. The ancestors of the Golden Snake asked for help from the ancestors of the Immortal Sect. However, how dare the other supreme ancestors of the Immortal Saint Sect dare to intervene, otherwise they will surely die, and even the aftermath cannot be stopped. Therefore, they can only ask for help from the more powerful ancestors of the strong domain, such as the top 5 evildoers in the top 5 ancestors of the Immortal Holy Gate. The top 5 evildoers of the Immortal Sacred Sect are all more than 7-step invincible domain ancestors, so they have the hope of keeping the Golden Snake domain ancestors. This strength, Wushu in the distance showed deep fear. He only possesses the 7-step invincible domain ancestor's combat power, which is almost the ultimate, because he has also condensed the holy soul, and this time he needs to attack the invincible domain ancestor. In the realm of the strongest domain ancestor, he didn't know how to improve his combat power. It can be said that it is more difficult for him to think. Among the most powerful domain ancestors, even for the most powerful domain ancestors on the Xeon list, the 7-step invincible domain ancestor is almost the limit of the most powerful domain ancestors in their lifetime, and it is difficult to enter the 6-step invincible domain no matter how much they improve ancestral fighting power. For example, the top 5 of the Taboo Holy Gate Xeon list are basically only 7-step invincible domain ancestors, but they are infinitely close to 6-step invincible domain ancestors. Perhaps 1 or 2 of its 637 reach the 6-step invincible domain ancestor, but maybe not. In front of him, Yi Tian's strength has actually reached the battle strength of the 6-step invincible domain ancestor. Don't mess with it, Wu Shu thought to himself. The ancestor of the Golden Snake territory is worthy of being a saint. He has the father of the ancestor of the upper level, so he has a deep background and many things to save his life. If Yi Tian did not use his ancestral skills, it would take at least 1 minute to kill the ancestors of the Golden Snake domain. Soon, the ancestor of the Golden Snake region was seriously injured and dying. Wanfa Yuzu, if you kill me, my father Jinwang Zanzu will definitely kill you. The ancestor of the Golden Snake region moved out of his father. Then let him come. Yi Tian is fearless. The supreme ancestor of the Dark Sanctuary cannot be dispatched casually, otherwise the Dark Sanctuary would have been chaotic long ago. Once the supreme ancestor of the Immortal Saint sect wants to kill him, it means breaking the rules, and the ancestor of the War Gate will definitely block it. This is also the reminder that the Fire Pattern War ancestor gave them this time. Therefore, in the Holy Soul realm, everyone can kill with confidence and do not need to be concerned about the identity of the other party. Last minute, the Immortal Saint sect's Shanqiang ancestor, the 3rd-ranked Xingqiang ancestor, Dark Red Domain ancestor is here. Chapter 1426 The Legendary Object, Holy Sands. The Dark Red Domain ancestor ranks 3rd on the Immortal Saint Gate Xeon list. How powerful is her strength? She has condensed her Holy Soul long before she entered the Holy Soul realm, and her Holy Soul is much stronger than ordinary Holy Souls, and her own foundation is also very strong. It's pretty bad. In addition, she is also a very ancient ancestor of the strong domain. She has practiced countless secret techniques, and even obtained countless opportunities to raise her body to an incomparably terrifying level. Moreover, she has a variety of sacred relics, and her fighting power is very terrifying, far from being a golden snake. Domain ancestors are comparable. In terms of strength, she has definitely reached the pinnacle of the 7-step invincible domain ancestors' combat power. As for whether she has reached the 6-step invincible domain ancestors' combat power, there is no guarantee. After all, on the bright side, I haven't heard of anyone who has stepped into the 6-step invincible domain ancestors' combat power. And Yi Tian is the first. Wanfa Yuzu, give me a face, let go of the Golden Snake Yuzu, can you? Dark Red Domain ancestor said quickly. No, Yi Tian refused. Do not. The ancestor of the Golden Snake territory roared in fear, but to no avail. With another blow from Yi Tian, the ancestor of the Golden Snake territory died completely. Seeing the fall of the ancestor of the Golden Snake domain, the ancestor of the Dark Red domain was very angry. This is the top 10 enchanting geniuses on the Immortal Saint Gate Xeon list, and losing one is a huge loss. Moreover, she and the ancestor of the Golden Snake territory have known each other for countless years, and their relationship is okay. Yi Tian actually killed the ancestor of the Golden Snake territory in front of her, and did not give her face at all. However, she still didn't make a move. The ancestor of the Golden Snake territory has died, this is a fact, and there is no way to change it. Although the ancestors have the ability to reverse the life and death of the ancestors of the strong domain, the cost is too great to do it, so if you die, you will die. She doesn't want to fight with Yi Tian, and Yi Tian has the battle strength of the 6-step invincible domain ancestor. Unless she uses her trump card, she is not an opponent at all. Endure it. Didn't you do it? Yi Tian secretly said. If the Dark Red domain ancestor attacks, he will kill the Dark Red domain ancestor. In the days that followed, the Star Soul Sands appeared one by one. Yi Tian took the Zanmen Shanqiang ancestors to snatch them one by one. Some Xinghunshes were too far away, and other Xingqiang ancestors had extraordinary methods, so the first time grabbed it, even if Yi Tian's speed was fast, it was too late to grab it. But even so, many of the most powerful ancestors of Zanmen also obtained one Star Soul Sand. But they are very clear that this is all Yi Tian's credit and has little to do with them. Everyone, I'm ready to act alone, Yi Tian suggested. Others have no opinion. After all, they have already taken a lot of advantage. If they continue, they will be embarrassed. The Zonman's Shanqiang ancestors agreed, and Yi Tian separated from the Zonman's ancestors and went to another area of this treasure land, lest they need to compete with the Zonman Xingqiang ancestors for stars. Soul sand, that's not good. As time passed, one after another star soul sand appeared, and Yi Tian, with his own strength and speed, also grabbed a lot. These star soul sands have a very good effect on Yi Tian's soul holy light tempering. If they are obtained from the outside world, they can create many invincible domain ancestors, but such a big opportunity can only happen once in an infinite number of years. The primitive ancestral world was born only once in such a long time, and this is also an opportunity for the rise of the major holy gates. After this time, the major holy worlds are afraid that a large number of invincible ancestors will be born, but such a prosperous world has nothing to do with ordinary holy places and sects. There are so many treasures that can help the supreme domain ancestors attack the invincible domain ancestors, and the number of invincible domain ancestors in the major sects is probably astonishing. Yi Tian suddenly thought. In fact, he didn't know how many invincible ancestors there were in the war gate. Many invincible domain ancestors are not in the war ancestor world, but experience in the outside world, and even leave the dark sanctuary, enter the boundless dark forbidden domain, and look for other opportunities. Otherwise, if they stay in the dark sanctuary, they probably won't have much chance to hit the realm of supreme ancestors. Sudden, not far away, space fluctuations were born. The eyes of many supreme ancestors all look there. Has another star soul sand appeared? Yi Tian began to travel past, but strangely, this space fluctuation was born, but Xinghunsha did not appear immediately. Before, space fluctuations and star soul sand appeared in an instant, but now this situation is a bit special. Boom! A golden star soul sand that was many times smaller than the star soul sand appeared. Its volume was the size of an ordinary hill, but its quality was terrifying, and the fluctuations it emitted were extremely terrifying. What kind of star soul sand is this? Many Xeon domain ancestors were stunned. But someone still recognized it, and suddenly said in shock, "This is the holy sands." It is rumored that the rare treasure that can make the holy soul undergo a secondary qualitative change, even in the holy gate, there are few such treasures. 1. Sands. Many people are crazy, their eyes are full of greed. Let the holy soul undergo a secondary qualitative change, what is the concept? Although there are similar treasures in today's holy sect, they are too few to be used by the disciples. Therefore, the descendants of the ancestors are boundless and rare. But in case the ancestor wants to give birth to a child one day, the extremely rare resources in the holy gate will be given to the ancestor. Among them, there are saints, but they don't even think about the legendary things like the holy sand. At this moment, Wushu and Dark Red domain ancestors are all crazy. At the same time, those supreme ancestors from all over the holy soul realm who did not look down on this treasure land also rushed over. The holy soul sand is not too powerful for those supreme ancestors who have already condensed their holy souls, so if there are other opportunities, those supreme ancestors Wang Haojiao will not come to this treasure land. But now, when the holy sands appeared, those supreme ancestors immediately abandoned other places of opportunity and came here one by one. Sand, it's mine. Wushu's eyes were red, directly showing his forbidden body. Boom! Wushu turned into a huge ape with a height of hundreds of millions of feet. The aura in his body was extremely terrifying, and he was very close to the sixth-step invincible domain ancestor. He was hiding some of his strength before, but now he is almost showing it. The dark red domain ancestor is no exception, and the aura of his body is fully displayed, as if half a foot has stepped into the level of the sixth-step invincible domain ancestor's combat power. They all took action and grabbed Street Jinsha blow. But treasures like the holy sands also have the ability to protect themselves automatically, and the golden light shattered the means of the powerful ancestors. Obviously, it will take a little time to take away the holy sands. Chapter 1427 Massacre, the ancestors of the strong domain have fallen. The holy golden sand is firmly fixed in the void of this treasure, and the nearby supreme domain ancestor wants to bring it into the body world, but the speed is very slow. Boom! Another powerful Xeon domain ancestor attacked him, inflicting heavy damage on him in an instant. The fight has begun, and Yi Tian also started. He smashed everything, and killed a famous ancestor of the strong domain. After a famous ancestor of the strong domain fell, the other ancestors of the strong domain became frightened, retreated one by one, and did not dare to compete. At this time, there are only Yi Tian, Wushu, Dark Red and some other supreme domain ancestors. These supreme domain ancestors are not weak at all, and they are also the top 10 enchanting geniuses in the top 10 of the major holy gates. Each of them has the combat power comparable to the 7-step invincible domain ancestor, but some are weaker, and some are infinitely close to the 6-step invincible domain ancestor's combat power. But the chi of these people locked Etn, as if they would shoot Etn at the same time. Ancestor of all laws, Wu Shu and the others stopped Etn and prevented Etn from robbing Saint Jinsha. You don't go to snatch the holy sands, but stop me. Are you not afraid that others will take the opportunity to snatch the holy sands? Yi Tian sneered. The dark red domain ancestor said, the holy golden sand is firmly connected to the void. It takes 1653 points to take away the holy golden sand. Naturally, you are not afraid of being robbed by others. Myriad Laws domain ancestor, your strength is comparable to that of the 6-step invincible domain ancestor. Combat power, if we do not unite to deal with you, we, the most powerful ancestors, will not have the slightest chance to snatch the holy sands. 1. Wu Shu also said, the ancestor of Wanbayu, now I will give you two choices, retreat immediately, and make an oath not to snatch the holy golden sand, otherwise we will join forces to kill you. For the sake of Saint Jinsha, it is worth taking the risk to kill Yi Tian. The same words also warn you to retreat immediately, otherwise I will kill you immediately. Yi Tian counter-threat, go. Wu Shu and the others took action. They didn't dare to waste time. After all, they didn't waste a second. Maybe a more powerful supreme domain ancestor came here. Once the delay is too long, even if they kill Yi Tian, their chances of robbing the holy golden sand will be reduced. A lot of. They are not a real alliance, they are still competitors, but Yi Tian is too threatening, so they have to unite. Therefore, killing Yi Tian and then competing with each other for the holy sands is the best choice. Time can't be delayed. Nearly 10 of the top 10 strongmen in the top 10 list shot together. Such a deterrent force is enough to threaten the 6-step invincible domain ancestor. Among these supreme ancestors, there are soul sacred skills, binding sacred skills, and bizarre sacred skills, but most of them are attacking sacred skills. Moreover, they all used holy objects and holy soldiers, and when they burst out, the 6-step invincible ancestors would also be severely injured. Ancestor of all laws. The ancestors of the Zanmen Shanqiang were nervous and worried. However, they did not dare to step forward, because their strength was too weak. If they intervened, they would not be able to help at all, but would drag their feet. Now, they can only expect Yi Tian to be strong enough, or wait for the top 10 strongest players in the battle gate to come to support. But Yi Tian didn't panic at all. I originally wanted to keep a low profile, but if you are courting death, then let you see my true strength. Yi Tian said coldly. Ancestor armor. Boom. The ancestral skill ancestral armor protected Yi Tian, and even many attacks could not shake Yi Tian's defense. Then, Yi Tian waved his hand, and countless golden beams turned into threads to kill these supreme ancestors. An extremely strong domain ancestor who is comparable to the weaker 7-step invincible domain ancestor, is a supremely strong domain ancestor ranked 9th in the Dark Holy Sect. As a result, he was cut by Yi Tian's golden thread ancestor skill, and his body disintegrated immediately. In an instant, this supreme ancestor fell. It can be said that the strength that Yi Tian shows now is no longer the 6-step invincible domain ancestor, but the 5-step invincible domain ancestor, and it is not the weak 5-step invincible domain ancestor, but the 5th CJFI step that is quite satisfactory. The invincible domain ancestor's combat power is close to medium. The 5-step invincible domain ancestor is very easy to kill the 7-step invincible domain ancestor, and the super strong domain ancestor is easier to kill than the invincible domain ancestor. As a result, this supremely strong domain ancestor was killed by Yi Tian in seconds without the ability to resist. Do not. One by one, the ancestors of the strong domain were terrified, but their life-saving ability was slightly poor, and they might have blocked a blow, but the golden light of the golden thread ancestor skill was cut again and again, and there was no way to compete. Soon, a famous ancestor of the strong domain fell. Impossible, how can you know the ancestral skills, and there are 2 ancestral skills? Wu Shu did not dare to believe. Among the invincible domain ancestors, such as the invincible domain ancestors at the top of the major holy gates, I am afraid that few people have realized the ancestor skills. For example, in the 36 battle emperors of the battle gate, only the ancestors of the 5 thunder regions are known to have comprehended the ancestral skills. And Yi Tian is the most powerful domain ancestor, and his cultivation time is also very short. He is an extremely young supreme domain ancestor. Such a young and powerful domain ancestor has realized the ancestral skills. Is it possible? If someone had told him before that the ancestors of the strongest domain could master the ancestral skills, he would regard them as lunatics and fools. But now, he has seen Yi Tian display his ancestral skills with his own eyes, and they are 2 ancestral skills, and his strength is comparable to the battle strength of the 5-step invincible domain ancestors. This is not a monster anymore, this is a taboo-like existence. Escape. Wu Shu was about to escape, and the ancestor of the dark red domain was also about to escape, otherwise he would definitely die. They would spare no expense, even burning the domain body and holy soul, just to escape. However, the golden light silk thread transformed by the golden thread ancestor technique came through the void. Puff! Wu Shu's body was directly penetrated, and the so-called defense was useless at all. A piece of life-saving things were blessed on the body, and even an ancestor medicine was used to restore the injury, but there was no way to repair the injury. Soon, the golden Mang silk thread will come again. Under the repeated attacks, Wu Shu still let out an unwilling voice of despair, and the huge body turned into a corpse, suspended in the void. Wu Shu has fallen. At this time, only the ancestors of the dark red domain were left, but Yi Tian had already blocked the void. Although the power of the 5-element band could not completely block the powerhouses like the ancestors of the dark red domain, they could stop the other party. She wanted to. It will take time to completely break the blockade. And Yi Tian would not give it time. Wan Fa Yuzu, let me go, I am willing to pay the price. Dark red domain ancestor said quickly. Unnecessary. Yi Tian said coldly, if these domain ancestors dare to take action against him, they must have plans to fall. Then let's die together. Dark red domain ancestor went crazy. She took out a treasure, and a terrifying force was about to burst out. Chapter 1428 Detonate the source nucleus of the realm, and a large number of the ancestors of the saint. The ancestor of 10,000 laws domain, this is the core of the realm. It is a special treasure condensed by the half-step ancestor in a realm. Once it is detonated, it is equivalent to an explosion of a realm. Even if you are afraid, you will fall and die. Keep chasing and killing me, everyone will die together. Dark red domain ancestor went crazy. The treasure of Jeyuanu, the general half-step ancestor will not refine, it is the treasure she once entered the ruins of a half-step ancestor, and it is also her most important killer. However, there is no way to control this kind of thing, once it detonates, she will be affected as well. Then blow it up. Yi Tian said coldly. He also knew very well about the Jeyuan nucleus. Once it was detonated, it would be enough to kill the general 5-step invincible domain ancestor. Even if he wanted to kill him, it was still a lot worse. Boom! Yi Tian continued to shoot, and the golden light penetrated, instantly piercing the dark red domain ancestor. On the verge of the Sea of Death, the ancestor of the dark red domain detonated the Jeyuan nucleus. Far away, one by one the strongest domain ancestors fled wildly, fleeing towards the distance at the fastest speed. Run away, the ancestor of the dark red domain is crazy, she actually wants to lead the source core. The scope of the Jeyuan nucleus is too large. If you can't escape, then wait to die. The supreme ancestors who were far away from Yi Tian and the dark red ancestors were able to escape at this time, while some nearby supreme ancestors were stunned. It took almost no time to detonate, and it detonated in an instant. Most of the treasure land was covered by the power of the Jeyuan core, and it was almost instantly covered. Immediately, countless spaces were annihilated, and some of the ancestors of the strong domain who had no time to dodge were annihilated into the strong domain body, and even souls, holy objects, and holy soldiers could not be kept, as if they were instantly erased from this world. And Yi Tian naturally did not block it in a foolish way, but used the holy technique of escape to sneak into the deep void. Of course, even if he sneaks into the deep void, the power of the Jeyuan nuclear explosion will bombard his body through the layers of void. But Yi Tian has the ancestral armor ancestral skill, and the defense is very terrifying, so there will be nothing wrong. The Jeyuan nuclear explosion annihilated this area for several hours before it gradually dissipated. Wow! A figure came out from the depths of the void, and it was Yi Tian. At this time, he was a little embarrassed and injured. After all, this is a big killer that can kill the general 5-step invincible domain ancestors. It is also a threat to him. I'm afraid it will be re-inflicted. Now, he's just hurt. Indestructible holy skill. With the recovery of the inextinguishable holy technique, Yi Tian's injury recovered at an extremely fast speed. He looked around and saw that there was no one supreme ancestor in this area, but the void of this treasured place was rapidly recovering. After all, this void could not even understand the origin of him, and the district source core wanted to destroy it. This treasure is naturally impossible. Whoa whoa whoa. A very strong domain ancestor entered the treasure land again, but the number was much smaller, showing how many super strong domain ancestors died. Soon after, a strong aura descended on this treasure land. What about the supreme domain ancestor of our immortal holy gate? What about the supreme ancestor of our dark holy sect? Damn, why can't we get in touch with many of our heavenly sect's supreme ancestors, who killed them? These supreme domain ancestors are the top 5 powerful existences of the major holy gates, and there are even the first and second strongest domain ancestors. At this time, some of the remnants of the great sacred sects hurriedly reported to the top 5 powerful beings on the Xeon list. It was the ancestor of Wanvayu who killed the ancestor of Wu Shuyu, one of the most powerful ancestors of the Forbidden Holy Gate. When these top 5 Xeon domain ancestors knew the situation, they suddenly looked at Yi Tian angrily one by one. Wanfa Yuzu, you are going too far, killing so many powerful domain ancestors of the Holy Sect. The Xeon Yuan Zhu Yuan Long Yuan Zhu, who ranked second in the Taboo Saint Gate Xeon list, said coldly. Yi Tian said with a smile, I only killed a few supreme ancestors, all the other supreme ancestors died under the Jeyuan core of the immortal Saint Gate Dark Red Realm ancestor. It was she who sacrificed the Jeyuan core, bombed and killed a large number of the ancestors of the strong domain, and also killed herself. Saint Cloud Domain Ancestor, who is number 1 on the immortal Saint Gate Xeon list, said angrily, Wanfa Domain Ancestor, if you hadn't hunted down Dark Red Domain Ancestor, would she have sacrificed the Jeyuan core? Anyway, it's a fact that she killed those supreme ancestors. According to what you said, 2 people are fighting, but one of them can't beat them. Knowing that he will die, he can massacre them. Then, an invincible one of our war gate. The ancestor of the domain offended the ancestor of your immortal holy gate and knew that he was going to die. He could slaughter countless creatures in the dark holy domain, and even slaughter the most powerful domain ancestors of other holy gates, as well as the saints and ancestors, and then do not need to be responsible. Ask for flowers. Yi Tian made an analogy. You are nonsense. The ancestor of the holy cloud domain hurriedly said. That's the truth. I'm right. The dark red domain ancestor wanted to kill me, and I killed her. That's right. She wasn't my opponent. Extremely strong domain ancestor. In the end you don't blame the dark red domain ancestor, but blame me. It's ridiculous. Yi Tian continued. At this time, many of the sacred sect's supreme domain ancestors were said by Yi Tian to look at the immortal sect's supreme heavenly sect ancestors. Of course, they also did not have a good attitude towards Yi Tian, and they were also very angry with Yi Tian. After all, some of the supreme ancestors of other holy gates had indeed fallen into Yi Tian's hands. And the reason why these supreme ancestors did not dare to attack Yi Tian was undoubtedly Yi Tian's strength. They have already learned about Yi Tian's general strength from the mouths of other supreme domain ancestors. Such power is terrifying. Even Sheng Yunyu admits that he is far away, holy soul meets, and his current strength is comparable to the 6-step invincible domain ancestor, plus the trump card bestowed by the immortal holy gate, enough to raise his strength to the 6-step invincible domain ancestor. Dedicated, but not the opponent of the 5-step invincible domain ancestor. Even if the top 2 strongest domain ancestors of the major holy gates are united together, they may be able to compete with the 10,000 law domain ancestors, but this is meaningless. It is also a fact that it is difficult for them to kill Yi Tian, but it is easy for Yi Tian to find opportunities and defeat them one by one, so they are the ones who are worried. Moreover, they came to this treasure land this time not to avenge the dead supreme ancestors, but for the holy sands. Many Xeon domain ancestors did not start, one by one waiting for the appearance of the holy sands. They do not believe that there is only one holy sand. As long as they wait slowly, they can wait for other holy sands. Yi Tian also continued to wait. What he wanted was not a grain of holy sand, but a lot of holy sand. In that case, he can make his future holy soul complete the second qualitative transformation. Chapter 1429 Condensing the Holy Soul, the strength skyrockets. Time passed slowly, and the holy sands did not continue to appear, but the star soul sands still appeared one a day. Yi Tian is the most powerful and the fastest, so he can often snatch star soul sand. 100 years later, on this day, a ray of spatial fluctuations occurred. Saint Sands is coming, Yi Tian muttered. As predicted, a grain of holy golden sand appeared, and it was relatively close to Yi Tian, so Yi Tian appeared beside the holy golden sand at the fastest speed, forcibly charged the holy golden sand. the most powerful ancestors of the major holy gates, and even those who were extremely the first and second strongest ancestors of the strong list wanted to snatch the holy golden sand, but they were hit hard by Etienne one by one. Then, they didn't dare to snatch it, and Saint Jinsha fell into Etienne's hands. Next, almost every 100 years, the 653 appeared in the holy sands. But it is not always snatched by Etienne. Once you are far away from Etienne, some of the most powerful domain ancestors have strange methods. You can take away the holy sands in an instant. Of course, you will pay some price. Compared with obtaining the holy sands, that cost is nothing. In this regard, Etienne is also quite helpless. He also wants to snatch all the holy golden sands, but it is not realistic. Time is slowly passing by, robbing star soul sand and holy sand. Millennium, 10,000 years, 100,000 years, 300,000, a million years. On this day, many ancestors of the Supreme Power Realm discovered that this treasure land no longer produces star soul sand, and as the days passed, the star soul sand did not appear. Moreover, they found that the void of this treasured place became much weaker. This treasure is ruined, many Xeon domain ancestors sighed. They waited for hundreds of years, and in the end they could only accept the fact that this treasured place had been abandoned. Not only the star soul sand could not be born, but the holy sands could not be born at all. Millions of years, a total of 10,000 holy sands were born, and almost all of the Xeon list and Xeon domain ancestors came here, so there was a lot of competition pressure, but in the end Etienne still took away 5,210 holy sands. It can be seen that Etienne's power. Most of the other holy sands were taken away by the top 10 Xeon domain ancestors, and a few were taken away by some lucky ones. In addition to several thousand grains of holy sand, Etienne also obtained nearly 10 million grains of star soul sand. What is the concept of 10 million star soul sand, enough to create 10 million invincible domain ancestors? Of course, he wouldn't be foolish enough to cultivate 10 million ordinary invincible domain ancestors from 10 million star soul sands. Moreover, he also needs a lot of star soul sand to refine his soul and strengthen his soul holy light. In these millions of years, Etienne has to pay attention to the birth of star soul sand and holy sands, so he hardly has much time to practice, and the practice time is very scattered, but the holy light of soul has also improved a lot under the influence of star soul sand. The holy light of the soul occupies 60% of the soul. Let's retreat for a period of time, and condense the holy soul, so that my strength can skyrocket, and then I can go to some forbidden places in the holy soul world. Etienne muttered. There are many opportunities in the holy soul realm. According to Zonman, some forbidden places in the holy soul realm contain great opportunities. Unfortunately, some places are too dangerous, and they do not have the ultimate strength or the combat power of the four-step invincible ancestors. Don't go there. Those who enter the holy soul realm are all supreme ancestors. How could the combat power be so high? So those places are listed as forbidden places. But once Etienne has condensed his holy soul and his strength has soared, those places are no longer forbidden, but his treasure. Etienne found a place to refine the star soul sand with all his heart. It has to be said that the effect of Xinghunsha is indeed very good. When refining the star soul sand, Etienne's soul holy light grew rapidly. With Etienne's refining speed, 1 grain of star soul sand can be refined in almost a year, and 10,000 grains of star soul sand can increase his soul holy light from 60% of his soul to 70% of his soul, and the subsequent increase may be difficult. But according to Etienne's estimation, he probably only needs 100,000 grains of star soul sand to condense the holy soul with 100% confidence. To refine 100,000 grains of star soul sand, for him, it would be 100,000 years. In a mere 100,000 years, the holy soul can be condensed, and this time is very fast. Etienne is refining the star soul sand in the environment of the time formation, the real time outside. I am afraid that only 1 year has passed. From this, it can be seen how awesome the effect of Xinghunsha is. Grain after grain of star soul sand was refined by Etienne, and finally 100,000 grains of star soul sand were consumed by Etienne. This day, Etienne is in the breakthrough stage. His soul holy light almost fills the whole soul, and there is only a trace of soul left that has not been completely transformed into the soul holy light. So, Etienne refined another grain of star soul sand, and under the action of this grain of star soul sand, his last trace of soul was also transformed into soul holy light. Finally, the qualitative change has begun. Countless soul holy lights began to compress, Just like Yi Tian's soul holy light at the moment seemed to have hundreds of millions of feet in the soul realm, but under the infinite compression, it gradually changed towards the normal body shape. With the compression of the holy light of the soul, Yi Tian was filled with incomparably terrifying soul pressure. After a long time, Yi Tian's holy soul finally condensed. Once the holy soul is completed, Yi Tian clearly feels that his strength has improved a lot. Motivating the holy soul, his combat power will be very terrifying, and the power of the holy soul is close to infinite, and it can recover quickly, so he can fight for a long time. My current strength should be comparable to that of the 5-step ultimate invincible domain ancestor. Yi Tian estimated. He would not think that his strength could cross the boundaries of the 5-step invincible domain ancestor and the 4-step invincible domain ancestor in one step. That would be too difficult. 5.8. 5 steps above the invincible domain ancestor, each step over, the strength gap is very large. According to Yi Tian's estimation, unless he cultivates his ancestral skills to the realm of minor achievement, or undergoes a secondary qualitative transformation of the holy soul, it is possible to break the shackles of combat power and reach the 4-step invincible domain ancestral combat power. Ancestral skills have been cultivated for a long time. I don't have time to practice ancestor skills now, but the holy soul can make it undergo a secondary qualitative change. Yi Tian thought. He still has a lot of holy sand in his hand. Once those holy sands are refined, it can promote the second qualitative change of the holy soul, and the holy soul will become more terrifying, and it is said that special characteristics will be born, some of which are very anti-sky. Then refine the holy sands. Yi Tian took out a grain of holy golden sand and swallowed it into his soul realm, and his holy soul was beginning to absorb the power of holy golden sand. Chapter 14 30 Characteristics of the Holy Soul, Indestructible, Derived. Although the size of the holy sand is far inferior to that of the star soul sand, its quality and the energy it contains are far beyond those of the star soul sand. When Yi Tian refined the holy golden sand turned into golden light and spread on the holy soul, tempering Yi Tian's holy soul. The holy soul is really tempered, and it is rapidly increasing. It is indeed the legendary holy sand. Yi Tian was excited. This is a treasure that even Zanman can't provide him, and he obtained 5,210 grains, which is definitely enough for him to undergo a secondary qualitative transformation of the holy soul, and it is more than enough. As time passed, one grain after another of the holy golden sand was consumed by Yi Tian. His holy soul is far more powerful than other people's holy souls, so if he wants to undergo a secondary qualitative change, he naturally needs more holy golden sand, and it is fortunate that he has obtained more holy golden sand, otherwise he really can't support his consumption like this. A grain of holy sand. 10 grains of holy sand. 100 grains of holy sand. Yi Tian's holy soul finally ushered in a qualitative change until Yi Tian consumed 365 grains of holy golden sand. Boom! Yi Tian's holy soul is covered with gold, and the endless holy light radiates the entire soul realm. At the same time, Yi Tian's soul realm seems to be expanding at 29. The soul realm seems to be boundless, but in fact the area that the soul feels has a range, and now the soul realm is expanding. This is a great opportunity. When the soul realm was expanding, Yi Tian's holy soul was also constantly strengthening, and there were dense rules and lines on the holy soul. After a long time, Yi Tian's holy soul transformation was completed. The Holy Spirit is 5 times stronger. Yi Tian felt it and muttered. But this is not the main benefit. His holy soul has 2 more characteristics. Under normal circumstances, the second qualitative change of the holy soul will only give birth to 1 characteristic, but his holy soul is afraid that it is too powerful, so 1 more characteristic is born. Indestructible. Derivation. These are the 2 characteristics of Yi Tian's holy soul. The first characteristic is immortality, which means that Yi Tian's holy soul is immortal. Unless it is a special method, the strength is far beyond Yi Tian's imagination. Otherwise, there is no way to obliterate Yi Tian's holy soul. This is one of the characteristics of the holy soul, indestructible. The second derivation is also very effective, but the sequelae are relatively large. Derivation is the deduction and derivation of any cultivation technique, holy skills, and ancestral skills, but it will consume the source of the holy soul. It takes a long time to restore the source of the holy soul. If it consumes too much, the source of the holy soul will be greatly damaged. Even with the holy soul, it will be severely damaged, and it will even be difficult to improve in the future. For other people, it takes a long time to evolve once, which is indeed helpful to oneself, but the help is not so heaven-defying, which is also very normal. But for Yi Tian, the characteristic of derivation is too terrifying. I can duplicate my body. If I use the holy soul that duplicates the body to evolve at any cost, it will be awesome. Anyway, the holy soul that duplicates the body collapses, and it has no effect on the body, so I can just copy the body again at that time. Yi Tian said excitedly. With the characteristic of derivation, the speed of his rise is terrifying, and he is even expected to deduce his own ancestor law in the future. After all, no matter how powerful the copy talent is, there is no way to deduce one's own ancestor method, but the derivation characteristic can do it. Of course, if there is no copying talent, the derivative characteristic is just a waste. My clone body in the Zanzu world is the clone body of the past, and it has no derivation characteristics, and the clone body must be disbanded. Yi Tian thought to himself. As a result, Yi Tian's cloned body talked to the high levels of the Zan ancestor realm, and immediately dismissed the cloned body to avoid misunderstandings. Afterwards, Yi Tian accelerated through the 10,000 years in the great formation of time, and after allowing the copying ability to be used, he copied his body again. Sure enough, the duplication ability did not disappoint him. The new duplicating body not only possessed the Holy Soul, but also possessed the characteristics of the two Holy Spirits. Then, Yi Tian let the cloned body begin to evolve. Derivation. The goal of Yi Tian's derivation this time is the streamer holy skill, and perhaps he can directly raise the streamer holy skill to the ancestral skill level with the help of this derivation. Boom. Yi Tian's holy soul source is being consumed, but countless spiritual lights and insights flooded into his heart, and the streamer holy skills are constantly improving and improving under the derivation effect, as if they are evolving towards a higher level. Time passed slowly, and the source of the Holy Soul consumed more. Unconsciously, the source of the Holy Soul has been consumed by 1%, which is already a lot of consumption, almost affecting the foundation. But Yi Tian ignored it and continued to evolve. After a long time, the original source of the Holy Soul was consumed. 20% of the origin of the Holy Soul. 30% of the source of the Holy Soul. Yi Tian has been evolving and doesn't care about this duplicate body at all. Soon, 50% of the source of the Holy Soul was consumed. If it is a soul, or a general Holy Soul, it must be about to collapse, but Yi Tian's Holy Soul has indestructible properties, so even if 90% of the Holy Soul's source is consumed, it will not collapse and die, but it will be irreversible. The wound of the Holy Soul is nothing more. Another period of time has passed. Yi Tian's Holy Soul source has consumed more than 90%, and the indestructible characteristic is protecting Yi Tian's Holy Soul, so that it will not be annihilated. At this time, Yi Tian finally opened his eyes and showed a smile. 90% of the three Holy Souls are exhausted, and I finally realize the key to the promotion of Holy skills to ancestor skills. However, it is necessary to copy the body again, and then use Holy Souls to evolve, so as to be sure to completely evolve streamer Holy skills into ancestor skills. Yi Tian muttered. So, he disintegrated the cloned body on his own, and after the cloned body's ability was restored, he cloned his own body again and started the second derivation. This time, only 70% of the source of the Holy Soul was consumed, and Yi Tian's Holy Skill Streamer was deduced to the Ancestral Skill Streamer. The Holy Skill becomes the Light Ancestor Skill. Yi Tian used the Flowing Light Ancestral Skill. The speed was much stronger than the Flowing Light Holy Skill. In the following days, Yi Tian continued to use the derivation characteristics to deduce a sacred skill. Under such derivation, every sacred skill became an ancestral skill. However, there is no way to upgrade the space holy skills and the time holy skills to the ancestral skills for a while, because Yi Tian's space and time holy gifts are copied too little, and there is no way to transform them into ancestral gifts. Without ancestral gifts, no matter how powerful the derivation characteristics are, it is difficult to upgrade the space holy skills and the time holy skills to ancestor skills, unless it takes a long time to improve. And he doesn't have time to evolve again and again, not to mention that the time in the Holy Soul realm is very precious, so naturally he can't waste it on it. With the increase of an ancestral skill, Yi Tian's strength has become very powerful, and the Holy Soul has completed the second qualitative change, and his current combat power is comparable to that of the 4-step invincible domain ancestor. Extremely strong domain ancestor is comparable to the 4-step invincible domain ancestor. No one would believe it, but Yi Tian did it. Next, it's time to take a look at the forbidden places recorded in the War Gate. Yi Tian ended the retreat and muttered. Chapter 1431 The Grace Bar bestows the gift of space. The primitive ancestral world has been opened many times from its birth to the present, so the War Gate naturally collected some information, among which there are dozens of forbidden places. One of the documents made Yi Tian a little interested. The forbidden area in that document was a bit special, because the holy soul beasts there had spatial abilities and were very terrifying. Among them, there were even holy spirit beasts of the invincible domain ancestor level. According to the data, if you don't have the combat power of the 5-step ultimate invincible domain ancestor, it is difficult to keep your life inside. Once you enter, you will die in an instant. That forbidden place should be the territory of the holy soul beast race. Those holy soul beasts may have the gift of space. Yi Tian guessed. This is an opportunity. If it is true, he can copy a large number of space holy talents, so that his space holy talents can be improved to the level of his ancestors. At that time, he can easily use the virtual slashing holy skills and the empty escape holy skills. Ascension to ancestral skill, the strength will also greatly increase. Wow! Yi Tian hurried on the road, took a while, and finally arrived at the forbidden place. This forbidden area was also named the Dead Space Realm by the 10 great sacred gates of the Dark Sanctuary. Yi Tian had just approached this forbidden area, and he felt a terrifying aura, but this aura said to him that it was not a big threat, but for other supreme ancestors this was indeed an extremely terrifying forbidden area. In such a dangerous forbidden area, other supreme ancestors would naturally not come, so there is only Yi Tian here. Boom! Yi Tian stepped into the void of death in one step and walked in. As soon as he entered the void of death, Yi Tian immediately sensed the holy soul beasts rushing over. Among them, many holy soul beasts have the realm of invincible domain ancestors. This is not one or two, but many. No wonder this forbidden area is so dangerous, there are too many invincible ancestors. Yi Tian muttered, these holy soul beasts are almost the same, like a big plate, which can differentiate into countless tentacles. These holy soul beasts rushed over, and countless tentacles controlled the power of space, forming countless dense spears of space. One tentacle controlled a spear of space, and came through. Yi Tian did not kill these holy soul beasts immediately, but used the copy talent to investigate their talent situation. As soon as the duplicating talents were probed, their talents were immediately perceived. Sure enough, there is a sacred gift of space. Yi Tian said with joy. Holy endowment. Empty spear. Copy. 1. Copy. 1. Copy. Yi Tian madly copied these empty spear holy gifts, and in a blink of an eye, he copied a lot of empty spear holy gifts, and then he shot. Ancestor armor. Golden silk ancestral skill. Lu Guang ancestral skill. Golden body ancestral skill. 1. Domineering ancestral skill. Yi Tian has used an ancestral skill, and his combat power is extremely terrifying, and he can kill a group of holy soul beasts with a single blow. In a short time, a group of corpses of holy soul beasts were left here, and a lot of holy soul power escaped from these corpses and merged into Yi Tian's soul, but Yi Tian's holy soul had already completed 2 sub-quality change, so this holy soul power is useless to him. Yi Tian swept all the way, even a holy soul beast comparable to the 5-step invincible domain ancestor, but also turned into a corpse under Yi Tian's frantic attack. Day after day, Yi Tian didn't know how long he had killed. There are many holy soul beasts here, and most of them are in the invincible domain ancestor realm, so it is more difficult to kill, and it will naturally take a longer time. After a long time, Yi Tian looked around, there was no trace of the holy soul beast, and he also came to the center of the void of death. Here, he saw a gray spar, the size of a star, suspended in the void. This is. Yi Tian observed it carefully, but did not recognize the use of this gray spar. However, Yi Tian felt the power of space from it. A special space power seemed to be affecting Yi Tian's soul, as if to transform its soul. Could it be that this gray spar can give birth to the holy spirit of space? Yi Tian thought to himself. If it is true, then this gray spar is too heaven-defying. Receive. Yi Tian tried to collect this gray spar, but failed to collect it. It seemed to be a part of the holy soul realm, and it was difficult to deprive this gray spar. So, Yi Tian took it with all his strength, and even mobilized the strength of his whole body, and this was how he moved the gray spar into his own inner world. However, just after the gray spar was collected, it actually became smaller, and the light became extremely dim, and the space aura became very weak. In the end, it became a human height spar, which was countless times weaker. Yi Tian held the gray spar and obtained a set of information from it. Quote, It can create 9 empty spear saints. Yi Tian said in surprise. Originally, it was afraid that it could create a lot of empty spear holy gifts, and the space holy gift group here is an example. However, this is due to the special nature of the holy soul realm, and this has such an effect. If you take it out, it will not have such a terrifying effect. Therefore, after this spar was deprived, it lost the enhancement of the Holy Soul realm, and could only bestow the holy gift of the empty spear for 9 people. But even so, it is also very terrifying. The ancestors know. I am afraid that they are interested. This gray spar is undoubtedly ETN's greatest achievement. Copying so much space holy Fu, it's time to try to fuse it into ancestral Fu. 1. ETN sat cross-legged and began to fuse that large amount of space sacred endowment. With the acceleration of time, Yi Tian merged Adore Wang Lihao with the Space Saints, and after a long time, all the Space Saints were successfully integrated. The Space Saint Fu has also successfully transformed into a Space Ancestor Fu. Ancestral Fu, space. Seeing this word, Yi Tian was extremely excited. Afterwards, he started to duplicate his body, and then let the duplicated body evolve, and deduced the holy technique of comprehension of the virtual slash and the holy technique of empty escape. In this way, after some years passed, the void slashing holy skill and the void escape sacred skill finally became the void slashing ancestral skill and the void escape ancestral skill. How powerful is the void slashing technique, and the ancestral technique of empty escape almost makes Yi Tian invincible. Therefore, with the addition of these two ancestral skills, Yi Tian's strength has greatly increased. If these ancestral skills are cultivated to the realm of small success, Yi Tian's strength is afraid to be able to improve to the ultimate battle strength of the 4-step invincible domain ancestor. It's time to go to other forbidden places to see. Yi Tian used his ancestral technique to escape, and disappeared. Chapter 1432 Breakthrough to the realm of the invincible ancestors. Thousands of years have passed. Yi Tian broke into the forbidden places one by one in the Holy Soul realm, relying on his 4-step invincible domain ancestor's combat power. He obtained great benefits in the forbidden places. Moreover, he often used the cloned body for derivation of an ancestral skill. After all, his ancestral skills are the entry-level realm, and if he reaches the small-level realm, his strength will be terrifyingly improved. Under normal circumstances, it would take a long time of hard work to improve the ancestral skills to the realm of small success. But if it is improved by derivation, it will be countless times faster. Under the derivation again and again, Yi Tian's cloned body and holy soul also collapsed again and again. Fortunately, the final effect is really good. Ancestral skills such as Golden Thread Ancestral Skill, Void Slashing Ancestral Skill, Escaped Ancestral Skill, etc. have been upgraded by Yi Tian to the realm of minor achievement, but if you want to upgrade to the realm of Dacheng, even if it has the characteristics of derivation, it will take a long time. The Holy Soul realm is not far from the closing date. Even if Yi Tian doesn't want to leave, once the original ancestral realm is blocked, everyone will be forcibly kicked out. This is the rule of this world, and the invincible domain ancestor can't go against it. Rule. At this time, Yi Tian was sorting out the harvest. Ordinary treasures, he is not interested in sorting, he only sorts out more precious treasures. Star Soul Sand, Holy Sand, Space Holy Spar, these 653 treasures are the treasures obtained at the beginning. Later in some forbidden places, he got a lot of good things. For example, the ancestral blood grass, which can easily reach the limit state of the holy body, the supreme treasure that can instantly increase one's comprehension 1,000 times, the phantom soul stone, or the holy blood marrow that reshapes the foundation. Especially the holy blood marrow, this thing is useless to Yi Tian, but to his family, it is a supreme treasure. After all, due to lack of resources and inheritance, his family's foundation was not very good at the beginning. Although he is very talented compared to ordinary ancestors, his family's talent and strength are average compared to those of the real saints in the Dark Sanctuary. But the holy blood marrow can reshape the foundation, making one step into the sky and become a monster-like genius. In the past, the holy blood marrow was also out of stock on the War Sect treasure exchange table, and War Sect did not have it at all. Even many supreme domain ancestors are looking for holy blood marrow, which shows the preciousness of holy blood marrow. However, can't find it. This time, Yi Tian found the holy blood marrow in a forbidden place, and it was still 10 pieces. In order to obtain these 10 pieces of holy blood marrow, he and a terrifying existence in the forbidden place CJFI were at least not weaker than the 4-step invincible domain. The ancestors fought for a long time, using the duplicating body to forcibly cast the 5-element band to trap the opponent, and the main body went to steal the holy blood marrow, and then he stole the holy blood marrow. Of course, he didn't kill the other party, and he couldn't kill him either. In addition to these treasures, there are also many other treasures, and the number is also large. Once brought back to the human race, the strength of the human race will definitely increase. The only pity is that the Holy Soul realm has too few time gifts, and he has not merged into the time ancestors, which is also the only pity. Another tens of thousands of years have passed. A repulsive force came. Whoa whoa whoa, a famous ancestor of the strong domain was moved out. When Yi Tian came back to his senses and found that he had appeared outside the original ancestral realm, then the supreme ancestors of the battle gate brought Yi Tian back to prevent the powerhouses of other forces from attacking Yi Tian. Go back to the ancestral realm. Zanman's fire mark Zanzu said. Zanzuji, Yi Tian and other group of supreme ancestors came back. This time, 1/10 of the Zanman's supreme ancestors perished in the Holy Soul realm forever, and in some holy places, all their supreme ancestors fell, and the loss was even greater. Of course, as long as one person is returned, that force will not lose money. This day, the fire mark Zanzu called Yi Tian and others together, mainly to announce one thing, that is, he hoped that Yi Tian and others would trade some of the treasure resources to Zanman, because many resources in the Holy Soul realm are resources that Zanman lacks. Of course, this is not a free transaction, they can obtain more precious resources from the war gate. Yi Tian saw that some star soul sand and a few holy sands were traded to Zanman, and he also traded many resources to Zanman one by one. Afterwards, Yi Tian exchanged an incomparably precious treasure from the war sect, the Sacred Star Monument. The only function of the Star Sacred Monument is to open a layer of star barrier. Once it is activated, even the Supreme Domain Ancestor will not be able to break through this barrier defense in a short period of time. Yi Tian is also worried about whether the upper-level Domain Ancestors will shoot him or the Xuanxu Sacred Realm, so this is the exchange for the Star Sacred Monument. In this way, once there is a superior Domain Ancestor attacking, he can open the Star Sacred Monument in time, so as to resist the enemy's attack, but ask the superior Domain Ancestor of the battle gate to take action. However, the Star Sacred Monument can only be opened 3 times in total, and after 3 times it will become an ordinary sacred monument. But even so, the value of the Star Sacred Monument is very high, and Yi Tian only barely redeemed this treasure. Yi Tian felt that it was worthwhile to exchange so many rare treasures for a star tablet. Afterwards, Yi Tian left the Zan Ancestor realm and returned to the Xuanxu Sacred Realm. Now the rich and powerful Yi Tian used a piece of myriad sky star leaf very extravagantly, and soon arrived at the Daoshan realm and returned to the Xuanxu Sacred Realm. Mysterious Holy Realm. Yi Tian sacrificed the Sacred Star Monument and connected it to the source of the Xuanxu Sacred Realm, so that the Sacred Star Monument could be opened at any time. With the Sacred Star Monument, you don't have to worry about security issues, and it's time to hit the invincible Domain Ancestor realm. Yi Tian muttered. He has reached the pinnacle of the Supreme Ancestor, and even the Holy Soul has completed the second qualitative change, so there is no need to continue to accumulate in the realm of the Supreme Ancestor. One day was chosen, and Yi Tian entered the world of sacred monuments to attack the realm of the Invincible Ancestors. It is very simple for Yi Tian to attack the Invincible Territory Ancestor from the Supreme Territory Ancestor. He has condensed the Holy Soul, and it is the Holy Soul of the second qualitative change. It is very simple to attack the Invincible Territory Ancestor. Boom! The shackles were broken, and the Zeon domain began to transform towards the Invincible domain. Countless chaotic primordial chi energy poured into Yi Tian's body, assisting Yi Tian to complete the transformation of his domain body. At the same time, Yi Tian's Holy Soul also changed and became stronger and stronger. Moreover, in the depths of the 10-day Holy Soul, there is a brand new holy gift, which is his own destiny, and Yi Tian's holy gift. After many years, the breakthrough was completed. And Yi Tian didn't look at his own strength for the first time, but at what the sacred gift of his life was. Chapter 1433 Ancestral Fu, Copy. Original Ancestral Fu, Copy. Seeing the words Zhu Fu, Yi Tian was shocked. Ancestral Fu, not a holy Fu. Yi Tian originally thought that what he was born was the birthright holy Fu, but he did not expect that the birth was the birthright ancestral Fu. Could it be related to the secondary qualitative change of my holy soul? Yi Tian thought to himself. No, Yi Tian shook his head, it's definitely not the second qualitative change of the holy soul. In the Dark Sanctuary, there are not no people who have undergone the second qualitative change of the holy soul, but there are no ancestors. It should be related to a lot of my ancestors. Relationship, I have merged into too many sacred Fu, and thus merged into an ancestral Fu, which directly affected my holy soul, resulting in the birth of the most suitable natal sage Fu became natal ancestral Fu. The copying of the original ancestral gift has something to do with his copying ability, which is a talent that is very suitable for him. Yi Tian's consciousness is connected to the copy of the original ancestral fu, and he knows the effect of this ancestral fu. This copy is not the same as his copy talent, it is a copy skill. For example, holy skills and ancestral skills, he can copy them and become his own sacred skills and ancestral skills. This ability is terrifying, second only to his copy talent. It can even be said that he was able to give birth to the ancestral gift of copying, and it also has the influence of copying talent. Without the existence of the copying talent, he could not form the copy of the ancestral ancestry. In this way, I don't need to exchange ancestral skills. Yi Tian thought to himself. Of course, this ability seems awesome, but Yi Tian doesn't copy too many ancestral skills, and general ancestral skills are useless to him. Moreover, he has a lot of ancestral fu and derivation characteristics, which can completely deduce a sacred skill to the ancestral skill level, so the copying of the original ancestral fu can only be icing on the cake. Moreover, there are very few domain ancestors of the Dark Sanctuary Association ancestral skills, and he estimates that he cannot copy any good ancestral skills. If there is a chance in the future, copy a few good ancestral skills. Yi Tian muttered. Now, he has just broken through to the invincible domain ancestor realm, which is when his strength is rapidly improving, so he did not leave the customs but continued to practice. It is very difficult to temper the invincible domain body, and it will take a long time to temper it to the extreme. However, he has obtained too many benefits from the Holy Soul realm, and many of these resources can be used to temper the invincible domain body, so he does not worry about the speed of cultivation. But right now, he wants to improve the strength of the human race. For example, if he obtained the Space Holy Gift Spar from the Holy Soul realm, he can bestow 9 people to obtain the Space Holy Gift. In addition, he has obtained a lot of Star Soul Sand and Holy Sand, which can easily create an invincible domain ancestor. Son, daughter, Yuei, Xiao Yu, come here. Yi Tian sent the message to his relatives. Soon, Xiao Yu, Yi Xingchen, Yi Xingyu and Yi Yu came over. Husband, father, brother, one, they shouted. These holy blood marrow can reshape the foundation. After you take it, the foundation will be remodeled, which is comparable to the top enchanting genius. Yi Tian took out the holy blood marrow and handed it to the 4. Holy blood marrow. They hadn't heard of it, but they knew it was very precious when they heard it. They were not polite to Yi Tian, they took it one by one, and then took the holy blood marrow in front of Yi Tian. Boom, the 4 of them began to transform, and the whole person began to transform. From the body to the soul to the source, everything is changing, and this is the real foundation of reshaping. For example, although some treasures can change the physical quality, but the soul and origin cannot be changed, it is not called reshaping the foundation. After rebuilding the foundation, they will have a period of adaptation, during which they can quickly improve as long as they work hard. Time passed by day, thousands of years passed, and the 4 of them completed the foundation remodeling. At this time, Yi Tian stripped some holy gifts from himself and gave them to the 4. In this way, they also become saints. In the past, he didn't dare to do this, for fear of revealing the holy talent, and the impact would be too great. But now he is not afraid anymore. He obtained the Space Holy Gift Spar from the Holy Soul Realm, and then selects a few human geniuses to bestow the Space Holy Gift. In this way, other forces will also detect that he has obtained such a treasure, which can be bestowed on people. Although he is envious, Yi Tian has already used it up, so they can no longer snatch it. In that case, they would also think that the holy gifts of Xiao Yu and others were also created by using treasures such as Space Holy Gift Spar. At that time, they only thought that Yi Tian's fortune was amazing, and they never thought of copying talent. For flowers, in the days that followed, Yi Tian began to select suitable candidates from among the geniuses of the human race, with character first, and even personally assessed them again and again. After millions of years and many assessments, 8 geniuses of the clan were selected and bestowed with the sacred gift of space. Human Temple. 8 geniuses of the human race came here, witnessed by many ancestors of the human race. Yi Tian took out the Space Holy Spar and said, I got this treasure from the Holy Soul Realm. I don't know what it is called. I call it the Space Holy Spar, and I will use it to give it to you today. 8 people in 1 Space Sacred Gift. After obtaining the Space Sacred Gift, you will become the Sacred Gift, and your talent leaps above countless geniuses. Saint. When the 8 geniuses heard it, they were immediately excited. They naturally know what a sanctimonious person is. There are not many saints in the dark sanctuary, only the descendants of the supreme ancestors can hope to give birth to the saints. Unexpectedly, these ordinary cultivators also have the hope of obtaining the holy gift one day. The ancestors of other human races are very envious, they want to snatch this space holy gift spar, but they dare not snatch it. It is a treasure belonging to Yi Tian, they are not qualified to obtain such a treasure. Boom! Yi Tian urged the space holy spar, and 8 rays of light burst into the 8 geniuses of the clan. Immediately, the souls of the 8 geniuses seemed to have been transformed by a terrifying supreme force. Each one was extremely painful, but they all endured it. Day by day, and a few months have passed, before they completely gave birth to the Holy Spirit of space. At this time, they sensed the soul a little, and then they knew the existence of the space holy gift, and they were very excited. Immediately, they thanked Yi Tian one after another, and then retreated. And then, Yi Tian went to the Zhanji Tower and contacted the fire mark Zhanzu. He is going to trade the space holy gift spar to Zhanman, so as to prove that the space holy gift of the human race really comes from the space holy gift spar, not his fabricated origin. Therefore, he only left a space for the holy endowment quota. After such a transaction, Zhanman will not doubt him, in fact, the forces will not doubt it. Chapter 1434 Hunyuan Ancestor Water, Invincible Domain Ancestor is complete. Boom! The fire mark Zhanzu appeared in the Zhanji Tower and came to Yi Tian. Yi Tian, are you looking for me? Fire mark Zhanzu asked. He saw that Yi Tian's cultivation base was no longer the Supreme Power Domain Ancestor, but the Invincible Domain Ancestor. Then he continued, it shouldn't be your breakthrough to the Invincible Domain Ancestor, right? Lord Fire mark Zhanzu, of course it's not my breakthrough, but I have a treasure that I want to trade to Zhanman, but this treasure is more expensive, so I need Lord Fire mark Zhanzu to come forward. Saying that, Yi Tian took out the space holy gift spar. As soon as the fire mark Zhanzu saw this space holy gift spar, he was shocked and said, Holy gift stone, and it is also a space holy gift stone, you actually have this treasure. Is it called the holy stone? Yi Tian felt that his name was quite accurate, he just added an extra crystal word. 653, your space holy gift stone has been used up some holy gift, and there is only one holy gift left. Fire mark Zhanzu suddenly asked. Yes, Yi Tian admitted. I have given our human race some genius space gifts, leaving only one place, ready to trade to Zhanman, should Zhanman be interested. Ha ha ha, Zhanman is of course interested. Even I am interested. There are many children under my command who do not have holy gifts. Why don't you trade them directly to me? Fire mark Zhanzu asked. Yes, but I hope Fire mark Zhanzu can spread the transaction information. Yi Tian suggested. Fire mark Zhanzu was stunned for a moment, and then smiled. He knew Yi Tian's purpose, so he nodded. Okay, I will let people know, you don't have to worry about the birth of so many saints from your human race. Thank you, Lord Fire mark Zhanzu. Yi Tian said gratefully. Afterwards, Yi Tian completed the transaction with the fire mark Zhanzu. The space Saint Fu stone belongs to the fire mark Zhanzu, and Yi Tian obtained a very precious treasure from the fire mark Zhanzu, Hunyuanzu water. Hunyuan ancestor water is a very precious cultivation resource, which is of great help to the invincible domain ancestor and enables the invincible domain ancestor to quickly temper the invincible domain body. As long as the primordial water is refined, one can upgrade from the initial stage of the invincible ancestor realm to the perfect level of the invincible ancestor realm. It does not require endless years to refine the invincible realm body and slowly improve his cultivation. Therefore, for the just promoted invincible domain ancestor, once he has the primordial ancestor water, he can quickly improve his strength and raise his cultivation to the perfect level of the invincible domain ancestor. Other resources are of little help to Yi Tian, and perhaps others are more eager to obtain a treasure that can add a touch of breaking the physical body, such as making the holy body into the ancestral body, and making the holy skill into the ancestral skill. But Yi Tian doesn't need these treasures, he needs treasures like primordial ancestral water even more. Once he uses the primordial ancestral water to improve his cultivation base, his combat power is enough to increase to a terrifying level. For example, he has just broken through to the realm of the invincible domain ancestor, and his combat power has been directly promoted to the ultimate combat power of the 3-step invincible domain ancestor, which is only 1 step away from the 2-step invincible domain ancestor's combat power. If he breaks through to the perfect state of the invincible territorial ancestor, his combat power will be directly comparable to that of the 5 Thunder Territory Patriarch. After the transaction, Yi Tian used the ancestral gift to look at the ancestral skills of the fire-marked Zanzu. Ancestral skill, fire-marked battle body. For this ancestral skill, Yi Tian can read it. At the beginning, the fire-marked war ancestor used this ancestral skill and turned into a terrifying existence comparable to the size of the domain. He defeated a supreme domain ancestor of the same rank with one blow. How terrifying the power! Of course, this ancestral skill is actually just average, but the fire-patterned war ancestry's cultivation base is high, so that such terrifying power can be erupted. Copy it, maybe it will be useful in the future. Yi Tian copied this ancestral skill casually. Afterwards, Yi Tian left the Zhanji Tower, returned to the world of the sacred monument, and began to practice. He took out a small bottle of Hunyuan ancestral water, took out a drop and swallowed it into his stomach, and began refining the Hunyuan ancestral water. Boom! The terrifying energy tempered Yi Tian's invincible domain body, and his invincible domain body was quickly tempered and improved. What a terrifying boosting effect! Even the ancestral medicine is useless to me, but the primordial water has such a terrifying effect. The value of this drop alone is more precious than an ordinary sacred object. Yi Tian muttered. He continued to practice, refining drop after drop of primordial water, and his cultivation was also progressing rapidly. Invincible domain ancestor early stage. Invincible domain ancestor middle stage. Invincible domain ancestor late stage. The invincible domain ancestor is great consummation. When Yi Tian completely raised his cultivation to the perfect state of the invincible domain ancestor, there was still 1/10 of the primordial water left, which could be reserved for his wife and children in the future. Boom! Endless coercion spread out, but it was blocked by the world of holy monuments, otherwise this coercion alone could permeate the entire Daoshan boundary. I am strong. Yi Tian found that he was much stronger than the invincible domain ancestor in the early days, and he could easily crush his previous self. Moreover, his holy soul is also dozens of times stronger. After all, as the cultivation base improves, the holy soul naturally also improves. However, this is not really the ultimate. Many invincible domain ancestors have cultivated to the perfect state, and they are only 3 or 4-step invincible domain ancestors. That is because the body of the invincible ancestors is too terrifying, and many invincible ancestors cannot fully exert their own strength. It seems that 100% of the power has been exerted, but in many cases, it can continue to be in control. After the invincible domain ancestor cultivated to the circle, he completely controlled the upper process. And this kind of control is very difficult to cultivate. If you control your physical body and exert your own power, that is a very general control. If you can exert 10 times your own power, it is a great control. If you control 100 times your own power, it's quite a monster. If you control your own power 365 times, you will reach your own limit. At this time, you can try to break the physical limit and perform an invincible domain transformation. At the beginning, the ancestor of the ancient Hengyu completed the transformation of the 3-dimensional 5.8 enemy domain body. Once the transformation of the invincible domain body was completed 9 times, he could be promoted to the supreme domain ancestor. It is very difficult to control 365 times the physical strength of one's own body. For example, the ancestor of the 5 thunders did not do it, but it was also related to the ancestors of the 5 thunders reaching a half-step ancestral body. In short, the stronger the physical body, the more difficult it is to control. If the evildoer has cultivated to the level of the ancestor body, it will be even more difficult to control. This is also the reason why the ancestor of the 5 thunders is much stronger than the ancestor of the ancient Hengyu, but he has not broken the limit. But the invincible ancestor of the 5 thunders, once the limit of the physical body is broken in the future, the strength will be very terrifying. I guess I will try to control the power of the physical body after I practice the ancestral body. Yi Tian thought to himself. After all, he wants to become the most powerful invincible domain ancestor, supreme domain ancestor and first ancestor, so naturally he has to reach an extremely terrifying level in every realm. Chapter 1435 Successful Derivation, Eternal and Indestructible Ancestors. The ancestral body is an evolutionary version of the holy body. Under normal circumstances, it is many times more difficult for the invincible domain ancestors to master the ancestral body than the ancestral skills. Only the ancestors of the 5 thunder regions have mastered the half-step ancestor body, and there is still a distance from the real ancestor body. I want to break the limit of the eternal and inextinguishable holy body. It is useless to rely on ordinary resources, only the derivation characteristics. Yi Tian muttered. Derived characteristics, the deduction of the eternal and immortal Eucharist, this is more reliable than any resource. Perhaps the ancestor of the five thunder regions obtained a rare treasure, which broke the limit of the holy body, but he did not have such a treasure, and he did not know where it was. All he has is derivation. Of course, Yi Tian knew very well that even relying on the derivation characteristics, it would take a long time to break the limit of the holy body, and it would take countless copies of the body. Fortunately, Yi Tian broke through to the invincible domain ancestor realm, and the Holy Soul was many times stronger, so the Holy Soul was enough to support the deduction of the derivation characteristics for a long time, and the effect was much better than before. Copy body 29. Yi Tian copied his own body again, and then the copied body began to evolve, deducing the eternal and indestructible holy body. He deduced the eternal and indestructible sacred body step by step to the ancestral body realm. Before that, Yi Tian had no clue. With the help of his derivation characteristics, he could continuously consume the source of the Holy Soul and deduce the eternal and indestructible sacred body. After a long time, Yi Tian's Holy Soul source was exhausted, and the cloned body died directly. About 1/10,000th of the progress has been derived. Yi Tian estimated. That is to say, he needs to duplicate his body 10,000 times and exhaust the source of the Holy Soul 10,000 times through the derivation characteristic before he can truly deduce the ancestral body, thus breaking the limit of the holy body. What is the concept of 10,000 times the source of the Holy Soul is exhausted? If it were someone else who had acquired the derivation characteristics, he would have his own life. How dare he exhaust his source? Even if he consumed a little of his source, it would take a long time to recover. Therefore, even if other people have obtained the derivation characteristic, it is not helpful. Only to Yi Tian, the derivation characteristics are extremely powerful. Years go by, and in a blink of an eye, 1 billion years have passed. The human race has more than a dozen saints, and after 1 billion years, these dozen or so saints have naturally risen. After many human race ancestors cultivated to the peak realm of the strongest ancestors, they could exchange a star soul sand from the temple at a very low price, thus giving birth to the holy light of the soul, and hitting the invincible ancestor realm. Now, 1 billion years have passed, and hundreds of invincible ancestors have been born in the human race. The main reason is that it is not a simple matter to be able to cultivate to the supreme ancestor, and it is not easy to cultivate to the peak of the supreme ancestor and the soul to grow to a certain extent. In addition, Yi Tian's redemption qualification for star soul sand is also relatively strict, but it is not given casually. Therefore, only 1,000 people have obtained star soul sand, and even if some human race supreme ancestors gave birth to the soul holy light, they also want to give birth to holy souls, so they are not in a hurry to hit the invincible domain ancestor realm, otherwise the human race would have been born long ago. Thousands of invincible domain ancestors. The most progressed is undoubtedly Yi Tian's family. With the help of the holy blood marrow, they rebuilt their foundations one after another, and they also obtained Yi Tian's massive resources to cultivate, and they also gave birth to holy gifts, and they practiced holy skills one by one. Besides, they also have star soul sand and holy sand. Yi Tian will not be stingy with these resources and supply them all to his family. Therefore, Xiao Yu, Yi Xingchen and the others all condensed their holy souls, and they all underwent a secondary qualitative change. Now, they have broken through to the realm of the invincible ancestors, and they have practiced several holy skills. Although the cultivation base has not been promoted to the peak of the invincible ancestors, they have also reached the peak of the invincible ancestors in the early stage, which is far from the middle stage of the invincible ancestors. Not far. And their combat power has also reached the level of the 4-step invincible domain ancestor, and it is not weak in the dark sanctuary. Finally understood. When Yi Tian's cloned body was about to use up his original source, he suddenly opened his eyes, and the depths of his eyes were full of joy. At this time, he has fully understood the key mystery of the eternal and immortal body breaking the shackles and impacting the ancestral body. Then breakthrough. Yi Tian's body began to impact the ancestral body realm. Boom! The holy body was cracked, and after cracking, remodeling, cracking, and remodeling, countless evolutionary reorganizations were carried out inside the body, and after billions of reorganizations the shackles were finally broken. This is also a way of Yi Tian's deduction, and it can only be applied to him, not to others. Because everyone's body is different, he is derived from himself, so he can only use it for himself. The shackles are broken, the limits of the Eucharist are broken. Yi Tian's fleshly body is directly evolving towards the ancestral body, but it still takes many steps to complete the evolution. And now, Yi Tian has condensed a half-step ancestral body. Countless energies poured into Yi Tian's body, strengthening the half-step ancestral body. 1,000 years, million years, thousands of years. This kind of transformation has been going on for 100 million years before finally completing the qualitative transformation. Yi Tian's half-step ancestral body can far exceed the half-step ancestral body of the 5 Thunder Domain ancestors. After all, Yi Tian's holy body is the first holy body of the Dark Sanctuary. An ancestor body is naturally extremely terrifying. The ancestor of the 5 Thunder regions condensed the half-step 653 ancestral body with the help of the effect of the treasure. If he wants to completely condense into the ancestral body, I am afraid it will take a long time, but I am different. I rely on my own to break the limit, even there is a complete method of condensing the ancestors. It will probably take hundreds of millions of years, and if you prepare some more resources, you can completely condense the ancestors. Yi Tian thought to himself. If he condenses the ancestral body, and then controls the physical power, he does not need to control many times, but only needs to control dozens of times the power. He is afraid that he will have the hope of defeating a supreme ancestor. This is not a joke, but a fact. After all, his current strength is far beyond the one-step invincible domain ancestor, and he can even defeat the 5 Thunder Domain ancestors with one move. Continue to retreat and practice, and condense into an ancestor body as soon as possible. Yi Tian muttered. In this way, countless years passed slowly, and hundreds of millions of years passed in a blink of an eye. This day, Yi Tian left the border, and his eternal and indestructible ancestor body finally condensed, and his aura was extremely terrifying. If all of them were released, it would be enough to kill the General Supreme Ancestor. Standing in the Xuanshu Holy Realm, Yi Tian clearly felt that the power of the Xuanshu Holy Realm was no longer able to increase himself. He felt that he could blow up the Xuanshu Holy Realm with one punch, and even shake the Daoshan Realm. Of course, this is an illusion, but it is also enough to prove how terrifying his strength is. Chapter 1436 Destroy the Incarnation of the Fire Mark Zanzu. The eternal and indestructible ancestor body was completely condensed, and Yi Tian began to cultivate and control. He has never practiced physical control, so now it can only be regarded as double the degree of control. The so-called control exercise is to mobilize the power of countless billions of cells in the body, and control almost every cell as a world. The stronger the body, the stronger the cell world. It is naturally difficult to control the body to 365 times. Also more powerful. And Yi Tian condensed the eternal and indestructible ancestor body, how terrifying his physical body is, and it is far more difficult to control such a body to 365 times than other invincible domain ancestors imagined. However, Yi Tian has a cheat, and that is the derivation feature. He can use the derivation characteristics to deduce the control of the physical body, and he can even use the cloned body as an experiment. Therefore, with the characteristics of derivation and copying the body, Yi Tian will control the body very fast. Therefore, he did not panic at all. Start taking control of your body. Yi Tian began to control again and again for a long time, and continued to evolve and deduce, and his understanding of the body became deeper and deeper. 10,000 years, million years, 100 million years. At this time, Yi Tian has increased his body control level from 1 time to 13 times his body control level, and the speed of such a rapid control improvement is far faster than others. Continue. It took another billion years, and Yi Tian's control over his body increased to 62 times. The further back you go, the more difficult it is to control your body. If other people have such a terrifying body as Yi Tian, I am afraid that it will be difficult to completely control 365 times the body for endless billions of years. Therefore, the physical body is too strong, and sometimes it is not necessarily a good thing. The control of the physical body has increased to 62 times, and Yi Tian's combat power has reached an incomparably terrifying level. Don't rush to cultivate, it's time to deal with the Qingyuan Holy Land. Yi Tian muttered. At the beginning, Qingyuan Holy Land dispatched 2 invincible domain ancestors to snatch the holy level mineral veins of the human race, and also killed a group of human race domain ancestors. He still remembers this matter. In addition, the Qingyuan Holy Land also invited the Blood Emperor to save people. If it wasn't for the invincible domain ancestor Jiyu Heizu of Zanmen, the 2 invincible domain ancestors of the Qingyuan Holy Land would have been rescued, and even the sacred ore veins of the human race would have been rescued, was robbed. Even, his life will be in danger. Therefore, he always remembered this matter. In the past, he was weak and could not solve the Qingyuan Holy Land. Today, his strength is extremely terrifying, and he has the strength to solve this little trouble in Qingyuan Holy Land. Of course, before preparing to deal with Qingyuan Holy Land, Yi Tian reported to Zanman. Battlefield Tower. Fire Mark Zanzu, I want to deal with Qingyuan Holy Land. 1. Yi Tian saw an incarnation of the Fire Mark Zanzu, said. Oh, why are you dealing with Qingyuan Holy Land? Fire Mark Zanzu asked curiously. Back then, the Qingyuan Holy Land sent people to snatch our human race's holy level mineral veins, killed many of our human race's ancestors, and sent the Weeping Blood Emperor to the rescue. Fortunately, the ancient sea ancestors helped, and this resolved the crisis. Yi Tian said, that thing, I have a little impression, it turned out to be the ancestor of Qingyuanyu. The Fire Mark Zanzu was a little surprised. Immediately, he said again, Yi Tian, Qingyuan Holy Land still has a supreme domain ancestor after all, although that supreme domain ancestor is not very powerful, but his cultivation base has also reached the middle stage of the supreme domain ancestor. It is not just the promoted supreme domain ancestor. Are you sure you can deal with that supreme domain ancestor? Fire Emblem Battle Ancestor, I wonder if the Battle World Tower can withstand the battle of the supreme domain ancestor. Yi Tian asked. You want to fight with me, can't you? Fire Mark Zanzu laughed. Fire Mark Zanzu, this is exactly what I think. Yi Tian nodded. Don't worry, the Battle World Tower is enough to withstand the battle of the Supreme Domain Ancestor. The Fire Mark Zanzu waved his hand, and the two came to the deepest void in the Zanji Tower. My incarnation also has the supreme battle power of the Domain Ancestors. Whatever ability you have, just use it. 1. Fire Pattern Battle Ancestors. It is good. Yi Tian was not polite at all, and immediately cast his ancestral body. Boom! The eternal and indestructible ancestor body erupted, and the terrifying aura changed the look of the Fire Mark Zanzudu. Eternal and indestructible ancestral body, you actually broke the limit of the holy body, and you also crossed the process of half-step ancestral body, and directly hit the ancestral body level. Fire Mark Zanzu said in shock. Shocked, as the supreme ancestor of the domain, although he broke the limit of the holy body, he is still a half-step ancestor, but it is infinitely close to the ancestor. But I never thought that the little guy the first saw at the beginning, after such a short time, actually condensed the ancestor body, and it is still the eternal ancestor body. This is the first ancestor body of the Dark Sanctuary, far surpassing the ordinary ancestor body. But the surprises continue. I saw that Yi Tian used the golden body ancestral skills and the ancestral armor ancestral skills, and the defense was completely full. Then, Yi Tian waved his hand, and countless golden beams slammed towards the Fire Mark War Ancestor. This is the Ancestral Gold Thread. Golden Thread Ancestral Skill, you actually raised the Golden Thread Sacred Skill to the Ancestral Skill level. The Fire Mark Zanzu was shocked again. The Fire-marked Battle Ancestor did not dare to be careless, and directly exploded the power of the Ancestor body, and then used the Ancestor skill, the Fire-marked Battle body, turning it into a huge body the size of the Imperial world. However, Yi Tian's Golden Thread Ancestral skill penetrated his defense and hurt him. However, the surprise didn't stop there. Yi Tian took control of his body 62 times, and then activated his most powerful Ancestor skills, holding a top-level Holy Soldier Spear, and slammed into the Fire Mark War Ancestor. Bang! The body of the Fire Mark Zanzu was directly blasted out, countless voids were annihilated, and the battle between the two shook the Zanji Tower. At this time, the countless Domain Ancestors and half-step Domain Ancestors in the War Realm Tower were terrified and did not know what happened. Soon, the Domain Ancestors of the War Gate informed the other Domain Ancestors that it was the two Supreme Domain Ancestors who were discussing, which made everyone worry. At this time, they were very curious, which two Supreme Domain Ancestors were learning from each other. Shuzan Wang Li Hao. 1. Another ancestral skill of Yi Tian broke out, instantly cutting the ancestral body of the Fire Mark Zanzu. Next, under Yi Tian's constant attacks, the Fire Mark Battle Ancestor was hanged and beaten by Yi Tian. The power of the incarnation is limited, and after a while, the incarnation of the Fire Mark Zanzu couldn't maintain it and completely collapsed. After a while, the body of the Fire Mark Zanzu came. Yi Tian, your strength has indeed reached the battle strength of the Supreme Level Domain Ancestor, and it is much stronger than the average Supreme Level Domain Ancestor. The Supreme Level Domain Ancestor of Qingyuan Holy Land is indeed not your opponent. This time there is a reason for this, and you are dealing with the Qingyuan Holy Land with the invincible Domain Ancestor. Even if you destroy the Qingyuan Holy Land, the other holy gates and holy places will not say anything. As for other things, you don't have to worry, I will handle it. Fire pattern battle ancestors are private. Thank you Fire Mark Zanzu. Yi Tian thanked. Afterwards, Yi Tian left the Battle Realm Pagoda, and then condensed the cloned body and sent the cloned body to the Qingyuan Holy Land. Chapter 1437 Kill thousands of invincible ancestors in one hit. The Qingyuan Holy Land is located in the Dark Sanctuary Qingyuan. The Dark Sanctuary has a large area and is divided into many domains. For example, the Battle Gate is located in the Battle Domain, and the Zanzu Realm is the center of the Battle Domain. The Qingyuan region is the site of the Qingyuan Holy Land. It is one of the small domains. Many forces are attached to the Qingyuan Holy Land, including many city-level forces that are also in the Qingyuan Holy Land. This day, Yi Tian's cloned body came to the Qingyuan domain, crossed the giant cities, and came to the Qingyuan Holy Realm. At this time, the Qingyuan Sacred Realm was very lively, and a famous practitioner flew in and flew out from the entrances of several Sacred Realm worlds, which was very lively. When Yi Tian appeared here, he was discovered immediately, but no one cared. After all, many people came to the Qingyuan Holy Realm, and the Qingyuan Holy Land did not completely block the Qingyuan Holy Realm, so they just thought that Yi Tian was the same as everyone else. Unexpected, a spear appeared in Yi Tian's hand and stabbed towards the Qingyuan Holy Realm. Boom! The Qingyuan Sacred Realm was pierced by Yi Tian with a spear, and the spear penetrated into the Qingyuan Sacred Realm, directly erasing a starry sky continent inside the Qingyuan Sacred Realm. Moreover, the countless areas of the Qingyuan Sacred Realm were cracked, and this was the result of Yi Tian's blow. 653. What exactly is going on? The invincible ancestors of the Qingyuan Holy Realm were alarmed, and even the Qingfeng Holy Master of the Qingyuan Holy Realm was alarmed. One by one, the consciousness came across the void and extended beyond the Qingyuan Holy Realm. I saw Yi Tian who shot. Wanfa Yuzu, it's you. The Holy Master Qingfeng appeared, followed by a group of invincible ancestors, all of whom were the invincible ancestors of Qingyuan Holy Land. A 2-step invincible domain ancestor, a dozen 3-step invincible domain ancestors, dozens of 4-step invincible domain ancestors, 5-step invincible domain ancestors. The dense invincible domain ancestors formed a very turbulent momentum. Yi Tian counted it at a glance, and there are about 1,000 invincible ancestors. Even if the Qingyuan Holy Land has declined, there are still many invincible ancestors. This is the essence of a holy place. It's just a little more than the invincible domain ancestor of our human race. Yi Tian doesn't look down on these invincible territory ancestors at all. Even if there are thousands of invincible territory ancestors, if he wants to make a move, he can kill all of these invincible territory ancestors in an instant. Wanfa Yuzu, although you are the invincible domain ancestor of the 10 great sacred sects, but it is outrageous to provoke our Qingyuan Holy Land like this. The ancestor of Qingfeng you asked. In fact, he knew what Yi Tian was here for, but he couldn't admit it. Holy Master Qingfeng, when you sent 2 invincible domain ancestors to our human race to snatch the holy level mineral veins, and also ask the Blood Emperor to save people, don't I dare to provoke your Qingyuan Holy Land? Yi Tian said coldly. Nonsense, I never did this. Holy Master Qingfeng refused to admit it. This is the Qingyuan boundary jewel of your Qingyuan Holy Land. The 2 invincible domain ancestors used this treasure to intercept the space where the holy level ore veins are located. The Qingyuan boundary pearl is the sacred object of your Qingyuan Holy Land, and only masters it. In your hands, Holy Master Qingfeng, can't you explain the problem? Yi Tian questioned again with the Qingyuan Jeju. Holy Master Qingfeng did not panic at all, and quickly explained, I did give the Qingyuan Jeju to a genius disciple to use, I didn't expect that genius disciple to be killed outside, and I didn't expect the murderer who killed our Qingyuan Holy Land disciple actually robbed the human race's holy level mineral vein. Many thanks to Wanfa Yuzu for returning the Qingyuan Jeju, I will pay attention to it next time. Holy Master Qingfeng, are you not admitting that you were beaten to death? Yi Tian sneered. I didn't do it, what did I admit? Holy Master Qingfeng rode. Holy Master Qingfeng, do you know what the truth of this world is? Yi Tian asked. What? Holy Master Qingfeng felt something was wrong. Yi Tian sneered. That is strength is everything, I don't need you to admit it, I have shown evidence, that's enough, as for your refutation, it doesn't make sense. Because, I am stronger than you, behind me CJFI, the War Gate of, is my backer. Today, I will give you Qingfeng Holy Land a choice, execute the participants of the original plan, remember that if there are participants and executors, then I will leave today. Holy Master Qingfeng was furious. Myriad Law's domain ancestor, don't go too far. No matter how weak our Qingyuan Holy Land is, it is still a holy land. You are an invincible domain ancestor, and you are not qualified to threaten our Qingyuan Holy Land. He was furious because he was the executor. How could he possibly execute himself? You shall die. Yi Tian shot. And the Holy Master Qingfeng was not slow at all, and immediately sent a sound transmission to let all the invincible domain ancestors take action. Boom! The Holy Master Qingfeng directly motivated the holy relic of Qingyuan Holy Land, Qingyuan Town Empty Pagoda. This is a top-level holy soldier that has gathered dozens of top-level holy relics. Boom! Qingyuan Town was suppressed by the empty tower, and so many invincible domain ancestors shot together, including Holy Master Qingfeng, the 2-step invincible domain ancestor, and a dozen 3-step invincible domain ancestors who can definitely suppress one 1-step invincible domain ancestor. And how long did it take Yi Tian to break through to become the invincible domain ancestor? Could it be compared to a step in the invincible domain ancestor? Turkey dog! Yi Tian stabbed with a spear. Boom! The empty tower of Qingyuan Town was directly hit by Yi Tian with a spear. Many invincible domains vomited one after another. Tong hit the barrier of the Qingyuan sacred world, and even Qingfeng Sage flew upside down for hundreds of millions of miles, vomiting blood. Just an ordinary blow, they can't bear it. Escape to the Holy Land. Holy Master Qingfeng voiced. At this moment, Yi Tian used his ancestral skill, Golden Thread. One after another golden light penetrated the void, and easily penetrated an invincible domain ancestor. All the invincible domain ancestors who were hit disintegrated one by one, fell and died, and no amount of life-saving things could save their lives. In the blink of an eye, thousands of invincible territory ancestors had fallen, leaving only a dozen people. They were a little faster and entered the Qingyuan Holy Realm in time. Ancestor Wanvaiyu, you have destroyed the foundation of our Qingyuan Holy Land. Holy Master Qingfeng roared, if you didn't deal with me at the beginning, and didn't kill the ancestors of our human race, there would be nothing today. 1. Yi Tian said coldly, please leave the elders too. Please leave the elders too. Please leave the elders too. An invincible domain ancestor who survived the Qingyuan Holy Land shouted, and his voice shook the Qingyuan Holy Land. Next moment, an aura of a supreme domain ancestor permeated, and at this moment, many practitioners looked towards the depths of Qingyuan Holy Land. The supreme elder of the Qingyuan Holy Land, the unsurpassed domain ancestor, and the Jinshan Saint ancestor appeared. Chapter 1438 Yi Tian will behead a supreme ancestor today. Jinshan Saint ancestor, in the middle of the supreme domain ancestor, was once regarded as the invincible domain patriarch in the Dark Sanctuary. He was very famous. He was later promoted to the Supreme Domain Patriarch, and he served as the Holy Master of the Qingyuan Holy Land. Now it is the Qingyuan Holy Land. Supreme Elder. The ancestors of Wanfeiyu, you killed so many invincible ancestors in my Qingyuan Holy Land, and broke the foundation of my Qingyuan Holy Land, I can't spare you today. Ancestor Jin Chen roared. At this moment, he would not be afraid of Yi Tian's identity, even if he killed Tilda operator Yi Tian. Could it be possible, the war gate will come, can't kill him. Moreover, this time it was Yi Tian who broke into the Qingyuan Holy Land and slaughtered their invincible ancestors of the Qingyuan Holy Land. Even if there was a reason for the incident, the Qingyuan Holy Land was still the rule. Therefore, even if he really killed Yi Tian, there was absolutely nothing wrong. Go to hell. Saint Ancestor Jin Chen grabbed Yi Tian with one hand, and the countless rules of this grab were shattered, and the horror was extreme. In the dark, the invincible domain ancestors of some other forces also spied the situation here through the infinite territory. As soon as they saw the Jinshan Saint ancestor take action, they all trembled in their hearts. This is a shot of the supreme domain ancestor, and it is easy to obliterate an invincible domain ancestor. Even a one-step invincible domain ancestor is not an opponent of the supreme domain ancestor, as long as there are some beyond the invincible domain ancestor, such as the Wulei domain ancestor. When the invincible domain ancestors waited, they could fight with the weaker invincible domain ancestors by virtue of their terrifying combat power. And Jinshan Saint ancestor is not the kind of invincible territory patriarch who has just been promoted and weak, but the invincible territory patriarch in the middle stage, and has entered the invincible territory patriarch for endless years. Therefore, no one thinks that Yi Tian can compete with Jin Chen's holy ancestor. At this moment, Yi Tian revealed his ancestral body. Boom! The eternal and immortal ancestral body was displayed, and many ancestral skills were added to it, and immediately a spear stabbed at the Jinchen ancestor. Bang! Yi Tian's attack collided with the palm of Jinchen Saint Ancestor. Immediately, the light of annihilation swept through everything, and some ancestors of the Qingyuan holy region who had not been far away from watching the fun were affected and turned to ashes. And Yi Tian only stepped back a little distance, but Jin Chen Saint Ancestor flew backwards. In the dark, the invincible domain ancestors who spied on were shocked. Supreme Ancestor was beaten away. The strength of the ancestors of Wanvaiu is too terrifying, and he can actually knock down the ancestors of Jinchen. Is it because the ancestors of Jinchen were injured too badly and haven't recovered so far? Is this careless? It's not rude. Jin Chen's injury is estimated to have recovered more than 90%. You take a closer look at Yi Tian's situation, it is the ancestor body, and there is a kind of ancestor skill on the body. Yi Tian's holy body is the eternal and indestructible holy body, the first holy body of the dark sanctuary, and now it has broken the shackles and condensed into the eternal and indestructible ancestor body. And he has too many ancestor skills, and this broke out like this. Terrifying combat power. 1. Golden Silk Ancestral Skill. Fake Cut. Escape Ancestral Skill. Yi Tian broke out all the combat power, especially the illusory ancestral skill. The power is too terrifying. Every time the virtual slash hit Jin Chen Shengzhou's body, it broke his supreme domain body and wounded him. However, the attack of Jin Chen Shengzhou failed to hit Yi Tian, who possessed the ability to escape from the sky. Saint Ancestor Jin Chen, you don't even have an ancestor body, you don't even know an ancestor skill, and you want to kill me. Yi Tian laughed heartily. If I step into the supreme level domain ancestor, no, even if I break the extreme of the invincible domain body, even if I only perform one transformation of the invincible domain body, I can easily kill you. Yi Tian continued. Damn, Jin Chen Shengzhou could not refute, because what Yi Tian said was the truth. He could see that Yi Tian's control over the physical body was not high, only a few dozen times. If he controlled it to 365 times, he would not be able to compete with Yi Tian. Once Yi Tian completes the transformation of the invincible domain, he will really be killed by it. Now, he can only compete with Yi Tian by relying on the superiority of the supreme domain body and the recovery ability of the supreme domain ancestor. However, at the end of the fight, Jin Chen Sheng ancestor's injuries became more and more serious. Ordinary attacks can't actually cause any damage to the supreme domain ancestor. Their supreme domain body can directly immunize most of the attacks, but the attacks brought by the ancestral skills in the ancestral body do too much damage to the supreme domain ancestor. Whether it is the ancestral body or the ancestral skill, it actually involves the ancestral level. For the ancestors, there is no difference between the ancestors of the upper-level domain and the ants. Therefore, ancestral bodies and ancestral skills are very terrifying things. Even many supreme ancestors are very eager for ancestral bodies and ancestral skills. Anyone who can cultivate ancestral bodies or ancestral skills will be superior to ordinary supreme ancestors. Above the domain ancestors. It is like the Ghost Fox Emperor ancestor, the leader of the Ghost Fox organization, who is a supreme domain ancestor, and is also a descendant of the ancestor, but because he has not cultivated the ancestor body and has no ancestor skills, he was hanged and beaten by the incarnation of the Fire Pattern War ancestor. The strength of the Ghost Fox Emperor was not even as good as Jin Chen's ancestor. For flowers, boom, Yi Tian's imaginary slash hit the Jin Chen ancestor again, and a part of Jin Chen's body was annihilated. Although he recovered his body in an instant, the injury was even more serious. Unexpected, Saint Ancestor Jin Chen begged for mercy. Ancestor of Wanvaiu, we apologize to Qingyuan Holy Land, how about today's affairs? Forget it, Yi Tian sneered, I killed so many invincible domain ancestors in the Qingyuan Holy Land, you can't forget it, I will not leave any hidden dangers for myself, today I will kill an invincible domain ancestor. Wanfa Yuzu, don't be too arrogant, you can't kill me alone. Ancestor Jin Chen was furious. Boom, the fight continues. Suddenly, Saint Ancestor Jin Chen took out a piece of paper, and his face showed pain. Obviously, this piece of paper is very extraordinary and extremely valuable, and it is one of his most precious things. I saw Jinchen Saint Ancestor motivated this piece of paper, and a terrifying creature appeared. It was a humanoid creature, but with a hideous face, like a devil. It was about 30,000 feet tall, and it was covered in scales. It's just a phantom, but it gives everyone a big terror. Unexpected. This human-shaped phantom stretched out its claws and grabbed Yi Tian. The speed was not very fast, but it seemed to ignore the time, or the time was forbidden. Yi Tian couldn't dodge, and he didn't even use the ancestral technique of air escape, and was caught by the opponent's claws. Puff! Yi Tian vomited blood and was seriously injured. Indestructible ancestral skills, restore. Yi Tian activated the inextinguishable ancestral skill, and the wounds on his body healed quickly, but some power could not escape, and Yi Tian's injuries had been hidden all the time, but under the effect of the inextinguishable ancestral skill, it was still wiped out little by little. What the hell is the phantom? It doesn't seem to be a taboo creature, nor is it like the destruction of the Holy Clan and the 3000 evil clan of the Dark Destruction domain. It seems to be a special kind of creature. Yi Tian thought to himself. But now is not the time to think about this, but to kill the ancestor of Jin Chen. At this time, Jin Chen Shengsu was stunned. You can't even destroy your ancestral skills. The ancestor of Jin Chen showed unwillingness. If Yi Tian didn't have the inextinguishable ancestral skill to recover from the injury, the blow just now must have severely damaged Yi Tian, causing Yi Tian to lose 80% to 90% of his combat power. But now, Yi Tian's injury has recovered too quickly. Run away. Jin Chen Shengsu didn't want to die, so he could only choose to run away. Chapter 1439 The Secrets That Only the Supreme Ancestors Know. At this time, the Qingyuan Holy Realm has already attracted the prying eyes of the strong. They are all watching the fun, and there is even no shortage of Supreme Domain ancestors watching the fun. It was at this time that Jin Chen Sheng ancestor fled. The Supreme Domain ancestor has fled, and the Jin Chen Saint ancestor is simply a shame among the Supreme Domain ancestor. He was beaten by the Invincible Domain ancestor to escape. I don't know if Jin Chen Saint ancestor can escape. If he can't escape, he is afraid that he is the first Supreme Domain ancestor of the Dark Sanctuary who was beheaded by the Invincible Domain ancestor. He can definitely be famous in the Dark Sanctuary. 1. I guess Jin Chen Saint ancestor can't escape. Wanvayu ancestor is a speed class ancestor, how can Jin Chen Saint ancestor escape? Want to escape? Yi Tian sneered. 5 elements banned. 1. As soon as Yi Tian made his move, he directly blocked the void. Today, the ban on the 5 elements of 670s is no longer a holy skill, but an ancestral skill. Under the ban on the 5 elements of ancestral skills, this piece of void was directly blocked, as if the source of the Great Tao was isolated. No matter how terrifying the ancestor Jin Chen was to escape for his own life, there was no way to break the ban on the 5 elements. Boom! Saint ancestor Jin Chen frantically broke through time and space, trying to escape, but unfortunately it was useless, he could not escape. Virtual cut. The terrifying spatial ancestral technique attacked, shattering the layers of defenses of the Jin Chen ancestral, and shattering his body. Recovery again and again, smashing the flesh again and again. With the passage of time, Jin Chen Shengzhou's injuries became more and more serious. Half an hour later, Jin Chen Shengsu found that his Supreme Domain body had been wiped out by 70%, which was already seriously injured and dying. Ancestor Wanfa, please spare me. Ancestor Jin Chen panicked. He doesn't want to fall, he is the Supreme Domain ancestor, has an endless lifespan, and the domain will have a day of great destruction, but as the Supreme Domain ancestor, he is almost immortal. Therefore, he naturally does not want to die. However, Yi Tian ignored Jin Chen Saint ancestor at all and continued to attack Jin Chen Saint ancestor. After a while, the Supreme Domain body of Jin Chen Shengsu completely collapsed. And the soul of Jin Chen's ancestor was also annihilated. So far, a Supreme Domain ancestor has fallen. With the fall of the Jin Chen Saint ancestor, the endless borders of the Qingyuan domain are in grief, and the blood rains endlessly. After beheading Jin Chen Saint ancestor, Yi Tian stepped into the Qingyuan Holy Land and destroyed the headquarters of Qingyuan Holy Land. A domain ancestor, like an ant, was directly killed by Yi Tian with a single thought. So far, Qingyuan Holy Land has been removed. Soon, Yi Tian single-handedly killed a Supreme Domain ancestor, and the news of the Qingyuan Holy Land's destruction spread throughout the entire Dark Holy Domain. Gate of War. The 5 Thunder Region ancestor, the Ancient Sea Region ancestor and the others were dumbfounded when they learned of this time. What? Wanfa Yuzu killed a Supreme Domain ancestor? Ancient Sea ancestor was stunned. He felt that it was not a long time ago, only billions of years ago. For him, this time was just a retreat time. Yi Tian, the ancestor of Wanfa Yu who was very weak at the beginning and still needed his help, has now surpassed him, and he has also killed a supreme ancestor, far surpassing him. The invincible domain ancestor beheaded the supreme domain ancestor. How to do this? The ancestors of the 5 thunder regions were also stunned. He condensed a half-step ancestral body and understood the ancestral skills. It can be said that he is an incomparable evildoer, even more evildoer than some supreme-level domain ancestors to a certain extent. However, in terms of actual combat power, at most he can compare 1 or 2 moves with the weakest just promoted supreme domain ancestor. And the Jinshan Saint ancestor of Qingyuan Holy Land is in the middle stage of the supreme domain ancestor. It is said that he was injured, but now the injury is estimated to be almost recovered. Yi Tian can kill Jin Chen's ancestor. I am afraid that he can be crushed to death at will. The ancestors of Wanfa Yu, how terrifying. The ancestor of the 5 thunders sighed. Yi Tian didn't know what other invincible domain ancestors thought of him, and at this moment he returned to the Xuanshu Holy Realm of Daoshan Realm. After Yi Tian came back, he came to the Zhanji Tower with doubts and saw the Fire Mark Zanzu. Fire Mark Zanzu, I have something to ask you. Yi Tian said very seriously. Oh, what's the matter? Fire Mark Zanzu asked. Fire Mark Zanzu, when I was fighting with Jinshan Shengsu, he sacrificed something and hurt me. If it weren't for the indestructible ancestor skill, I'm afraid I would be severely injured. Yi Tian described the piece of paper or the spell, especially the phantom, which was completely described and even transformed for the Fire Mark Zanzu to see. At this time, Yi Tian found that the look of the Fire Mark Zanzu was very solemn. Yi Tian, about that phantom, it is actually the Dark Sanctuary. No, it should be said that a great secret of the Dark Forbidden Realm is even bigger than the secret of the Dark Destruction Realm. Basically, only the Supreme Domain Ancestor is qualified. No, and issue an order, don't let it leak. Now that you have killed the ancestor of Jin Chen, you are also qualified to know this secret. Fire Mark Zanzu said seriously. What secret? Yi Tian was shocked. Haowen Zanzu said, your holy ancestor is injured and has been healing. Although the home court is strong, the upper holy world has no increase in the supreme domain, and the formations of the holy land help the lower world, otherwise, it will be early. There are rumors in the world that the Qingyuan Saint ancestor is avoiding the hostile supreme domain ancestor and dare not leave the Qingyuan Saint realm. But there is such a hostile supreme domain ancestor, and the Qingyuan Saint realm can't stop the other party, they have already come in. Yeah, that's not normal. Yi Tian just thought of this question. For example, with his strength, Xuanshu Sacred Realm will not increase his 5.8. But ordinary domain ancestors don't know it all, and they think that the holy world also has a great increase in the supreme domain ancestors, so the rumors from the outside world are not realistic at all. Then how did the Jinshan holy ancestor get hit so hard? Yi Tian asked. It was severely injured by the kind of terrifying existence you described, so he had to return to the Qingyuan Saint realm for healing. He estimated that he sealed the breath of that terrifying existence and used it. It has to be said that the Jinshan Saint ancestor also a genius. Fire Mark Zanzu said. What the hell is that? Yi Tian was so curious. Silent Clan, Fire Mark Zanzu said, and there seemed to be fear in the depths of his eyes. Being able to make the Fire Mark War ancestor terrified shows how terrifying the so-called Quiet Clan is. Chapter 1440 I am a genius. After a long time, the Fire Mark War ancestor said, the Annihilation family is the existence of annihilating everything. They don't seem to exist under the Great Tao. They transcend time and space, transcend the rules, and when they are born, they are comparable to the Supreme Domain Ancestor. The best among them is comparable to the ancestors. What? Yi Tian's eyes widened with a look of disbelief. As soon as it was born, it is comparable to the Supreme Ancestor of the domain, and the outstanding one is comparable to the ancestor. Is the dead ancestor so terrifying? Then what is the use of cultivation? How could it be comparable to the Annihilation clan? It's no wonder that the Fire Mark War ancestors are so afraid. This Annihilation clan is so terrifying. The Annihilation tribe is so terrifying, why haven't I heard of it? It stands to reason that they have already entered the Dark Sanctuary. Yi Tian asked in doubt. Because of the resistance of the ancestors. Fire Mark Zanzu said. Where do you think the ancestors are? Are they really in the Dark Sanctuary? No, the incarnations of the ancestors are only left in the Dark Sanctuary. Even in the last battle of the primitive ancestors, only the incarnations of the ancestors were shot. The real bodies of the ancestors are more powerful than the 29 incarnations, and they are resisting the annihilation of the clan. Moreover, there are also some of the supreme ancestors of the top 10 holy gates. In resisting the Annihilation clan, even some holy places must be sent to guard the supreme domain ancestors. Which holy place must be sent to the holy place? For example, the Jinchen ancestor of the Qingyuan Holy Land was selected, and the result was severely damaged. Back, I have been healing. In fact, the supreme ancestors of the Dark Sanctuary are more than you know. There are not only 10 ancestors, but 23, and the ancestors of the Dark Destruction Domain must also guard their ancestors. More, our Dark Sanctuary and Dark Destruction Domain can kill each other. As long as it does not involve the ancestor level, it is nothing. Even if some supreme ancestors fall, it is nothing. In the matter, there is no negotiation, and it must be resisted. Otherwise, the Dark Sanctuary and the Dark Destruction Domain will be finished. In addition, the Dark Forbidden Domain is too large, and there are some loose cultivator ancestors and loose cultivator Supreme Domain ancestors. Once you are found, you must guard it, otherwise you will be hunted down by all the ancestors. At the beginning, some holy gates suspected that there were also ancestors behind you, so I tried again and again, but no evidence was found, so it's nothing. So it is. Yi Tian completely understood. Where is the Quiet Clan? Yi Tian asked this last question. The edge of the Dark Forbidden Area, the endless space-time corridor, the Dark Forbidden Area seems to be boundless. In fact, the ancestors walked in time and space, but they could resist any part of the Dark Forbidden Area. Even if the ancestors flew hundreds of millions of epochs, they could not fly to the end of the Dark Forbidden Area, but the ancestors could go to the end of the Dark Forbidden Area through time and space. Many years ago, the ancestors walked in the depths of time and space and found a piece of space in the endless time and space corridor. In the dark area, that area penetrated into the depths of endless time and space, making the ancestors extremely puzzled. After they probed, they finally discovered the existence of the Annihilation Clan. A war broke out, 1 ancestor fell, and 6 ancestors were severely injured. After that, the ancestors they gathered together, and this was the only way to resist the Annihilation Clan. The Annihilation family seems to have no wisdom and cannot communicate. The ancestors have calculated that once they can't stop the Annihilation family will annihilate everything, make everything return to 1, and the time and space will return to the original point, because the Annihilation family can affect the time and space. Infiltrating time and space, this is the most terrifying point. The Fire Mark War ancestor said with a little fear. Afterwards, he calmed down again and said with a smile, "The ancestors of Wanbayu, you don't need to worry, the ancestors have resisted the Annihilation Clan, and there is no problem at present. If more ancestors are born in the Dark Sanctuary, the future may even be there is hope to destroy the Annihilation Clan." Fire Mark Zanzu, I'm not worried. Yi Tian has a good mentality. He believes that he can definitely become the first ancestor, and even in the future, he will be able to destroy the Jixi clan by himself. That's good. Fire Mark Zanzu was relieved. He was afraid that Yi Tian would know about the Annihilation Clan, lose the motivation to progress, and give up on himself, which would be bad. Sudden, Yi Tian asked again. Fire Mark Zanzu, what happened to the realm of light at that time? Why is a person only allowed to enter once in his life? Can't he really enter the second time? The realm of time, the Fire Mark Zanzu said with a smile. That thing is actually made from the core fragments of the corpse of an ancestor of the dead clan. The dead clan can erode time and space, so the realm of time can affect both time and space. It can also erode time and space. If you enter for the second time, you have already left a mark on the realm of time. After all, when you entered the first time, you almost always went out before reaching the limit. The erosion of time and space will be assimilated by time, or by the power of the annihilated clan. The realm of time cannot assimilate the ancestors, but it is useless or ineffective for the ancestors. And the people under the ancestors can't resist time erosion, which results in only 1 entry. It turned out to be like this. Yi Tian understood. That is to say, the first time he entered the realm of time remembered him, and the second time he entered, he would be eroded by time, almost unstoppable under the ancestors, 100% will be eroded, and all there was no way to get out in time. But Yi Tian understood the principle of the realm of time, and it was actually not that weird. If he uses the copy talent to copy other people's bodies, and then enters the realm of time 670, he is equivalent to another person. He only needs to pay for the consumption of opening the realm of time, and it doesn't matter how many times he uses it. However, when he stepped into the Supreme Domain Ancestor level, the realm of time would be of little use to him. After all, there was almost no way to quickly improve the ordinary cultivation perception. The realm of time is useless except for a long time. Then use the realm of time to cultivate ancestral skills, and strive to use endless long years to cultivate an ancestral skill to the realm of Dachang and even the realm of perfection. Yi Tian thought to himself. Of course, to copy someone else's body, that person must also have ancestral gifts, otherwise, without the ancestral body, there will be nothing in the realm of time, and there is no way to improve ancestral skills after practicing endless years. For others, this is an unsolved problem, but for Yi Tian it is easy. He can catch some sinful domain ancestors, give them a family ancestor, kill them, and then copy their bodies, so that the copied bodies have ancestors. I'm a genius. Yi Tian couldn't help but praise his plan. Then, he started the plan. Once the plan is successful, he will be able to cultivate an ancestral skill to the perfect state in a short period of time, and his strength will skyrocket many times.